Jay Crawford, Adam the Bull, Garrett Bush, Dustin Fox, Jason Lloyd, Tyvis Powell, plus, ba-da-da-da-da, you're loving him, Mikey McNuggets. And so many big names, it would take me hours to say all of their names. The ultimate Cleveland sports show starts now. Booyah!
It just taped.
Hey, what's up, Earl? What's up, make a little cameo today, miking up my man G. Welcome to Ultimate Cleveland Sports Show. Hope we hit, man. Not much of a weekend for the Guardians. I hope, other than that, if you had a Father's Day weekend, it was better than that. This is how bad it's become. Summer weather hasn't even arrived.
It sucks. Yesterday was actually nicer than I thought.
Baseball summer's over. Like, when you're 10 games out, it's a wrap. Mikey, go.
Listen, the weather sucks. We talked about it. However, if you want cheap tickets to a poorly weathered baseball game, Game Time is the place you got to use it. Game Time is our title sponsor of the day. You can download the Game Time app. Use promo code LOCKEDON for $20 off your first purchase. Terms apply. Download the Game Time app today. What time is it? It's Game Time. Happy belated Father's Day, guys.
Yeah.
Jay, Jason, everyone out there, because
great day.
It's a big weekend for you guys, and you guys are terrific fathers. We appreciate all you guys do for everyone in your families, and to everyone out there watching who's a father, happy belated Father's Day to you guys as well.
Absolutely. And for those not lucky enough to have your fathers around, I feel your pain. For those of you lucky enough to have your father around, take advantage of it.
Yeah.
Because you think it's going to last forever, and that's impossible. Busy show. Got some Browns, Cavs, and Guardians, I believe, today. Man, oh man, the Guardians. Wow.
10 spot.
Can't hit.
No sticks.
Yesterday they had 7 guys in their lineup hitting 240 or lower.
Well, that's not that uncommon in today's game, sadly.
7.
But
you take Juan and Ramirez out of this lineup, and it's a AAA roster.
That, I think, is more incriminating, is who's the third. Daniel Schneemann might be the third best hitter on this team.
Probably is. Manzardo can't make contact. It's just awful.
I mean, think for a second. All of the middle infielders that they have stockpiled over the last 5 or 6 years, all the prospects we've heard about, who's the best one they have on their roster? Daniel Schneemann.
Yeah.
27-year-old Daniel Schneemann.
Where did he fit in 5 years ago?
No one even heard of him until last year.
I know, it's amazing. Shout out to Lake Catholic. They beat my alma mater, Perkins, in yesterday's state championship game. I went down to Canton to watch it. What a tough game. Perkins lost 3-2. Had a runner called out at home on a bad call. It's these high school umps and refs. Perkins lost the football state championship by 1 point. Had a touchdown called back on an ineligible receiver downfield. That this officiating, the guru of the officiating in the state said it wasn't the right call. Yesterday they get a runner called out at home, was clearly safe on replay. Brutal. They lost the state football championship and the state basketball championship by a combined 2 points.
I no disrespect.
Yikes!
But I can't have regular referees at your local watering hole.
No,
like these guys
calling the biggest game of these kids' lives.
You see them, I'm like, bro, didn't I see you at the drive-thru every Saturday?
Leaving with something in a bag, a brown bag,
a brown bag joint, and then you got it's. If I don't like college reps. And I don't like pro refs. What do you think you're going to get with regular run-of-the-mill everyday refs?
It was rough. It was rough.
Did I see, because Amherst lost also in Division
They did in
2.
the finals.
Did I see that game started at 10:30 at night?
It did. It started late because all the rain Saturday, and they've got to fit these games in a window. Crazy thing is, all these kids have graduated from high school, the seniors.
Yeah.
That's crazy.
Yeah.
Like, school's over.
You're done with it.
Spring sports season is so weird in Ohio.
This is way off topic, but I want to get just your quick thoughts on this. So Perkins lost their best athlete, Brandon Collier. He's a wide receiver, had a couple of touchdowns in the state championship game. He signed with Michigan State. Because of early enrollment, this kid misses. He was their best baseball player, and he misses his senior baseball season. It's a guy that would have made a difference.
Yeah.
His prom, his graduation.
Yeah.
I think the NCAA needs to abolish early enrollment. If no one can do it, there's no advantage gained. I just don't understand why you're stealing these kids' last 6 months of what's really one of the greatest years of your life.
I think that's the kid's choice, though. That's the choice they're making.
It is, but if they didn't have that choice, I mean, here's how this works. Ohio State says, we want you here for early enrollment.
All right, then.
We going to get you?
Right.
Well, if that's what I got to do, then I got to start fast pacing my graduation. You're stealing these kids' greatest 6 months of their high school careers.
That kid you're talking about,
Brandon Collier.
I think he's getting paid now.
He probably is. I mean,
and there is no.
Not probably. The
NCAA is like.
But you know what?
Now.
If it wasn't available for kids, then nobody gets an advantage. Let these kids play out their senior year spring sports.
Yeah, I guess.
Winter sports.
I guess he could say, I got this game I'm play, and if he was good enough, I'll say, all right, yeah, cool. Like.
Well, they're never going to do that. Not if he's already graduated, but I don't know.
It's becoming the standard with a lot of
it is the standard. Yeah, I'm sure all the kids at Ohio State are there early enrollment. They have been for years.
Max Riley from Avon Lake is going to be, he's a junior now. He's going to be a senior in the fall, and he's planning on leaving.
Well, the young man that passed.
Jeremiah Kelly from Avon.
Yes, at Cincinnati. He wins a state championship in football, and a month later, he's leaving school, going down to Cincinnati. Not that this had anything to do with his tragic passing, but it's horrific.
Yeah. We didn't talk about it on the show. We probably should have. I took AJ to his memorial service.
Did you really?
I've never met the kid. AJ hadn't met him, but had a slight connection through FCA. The pastor at our church is the chaplain for FCA, or is Avon's chaplain. So AJ wanted to go, so we went. Dude, I was crying.
Yeah, I heard a lot of people were.
I'd never met the young man.
Yeah.
And it's my dad. I'm just a puddle now when it comes to kids and anything involving kids. I'm just a puddle. And I was like sobbing at this. It was devastating to hear. What an incredible young man that was.
Yeah, I know. I hadn't met him either, but I heard we had done a feature story on him upstairs at Channel 3, and you could just tell the young man was well-rounded, was a terrific kid.
Beloved.
And, just a terrible tragedy. Makes losing a state championship game on a bad call seem that big, and it is. But, boy, those kids
it still hurts,
But congratulations to Lake Catholic. They played a great game, scored all 3 runs in 1 inning, and that was that. All right, Mike, let's dive in with this Shedeur Sanders stuff. I'm sure we got a lot to say about that.
Yeah, we got a big show. Excited for some of the topics coming up, but we will start with a little Browns talk after a quick word from FanDuel. The NBA Finals in full swing. Tonight is Game 5. It is a 2-2 series between the Pacers and the Thunder. If you want to get it on the action, whether it's a game-winning shot or a breakout player, there's no better place to do it than with FanDuel. FanDuel makes it easy to stay in the game before tip-off and live with player props, performance trends, same-game parlays. Fans have more ways than ever to play smart and win big. If you're new to FanDuel, it's the perfect time to sign up. Head to FanDuel.com/UCSS and place your first $5 bet. If it wins, you get $200 in bonus bets. Make every moment more with FanDuel, the official sports betting partner of the NBA. And if you have a winning ticket, if you have a winning FanDuel ticket on the NBA Finals or Guardians game, send it in to us because we want to feature it on the show in the coming days. Send us those winning tickets. We know you got some out there. Just make sure you send them in to us via email, on Twitter, you name it. We'll feature it here on the Ultimate Cleveland Sports Show.
Do you think this is going 7 now?
I still think 6. We're going to talk about that in overtime. I want to start with some comments that Ocho Cinco made over the weekend. He was on the Nightcap podcast with Shannon Sharp and had a bit of a Freudian slip mentioning the specific player he had talked to, but he said that's not the only player he had spoken with about Shedeur Sanders. So this is Ocho Cinco talking to Shannon Sharp about a conversation he had with a Browns player regarding the Browns rookie quarterback.
About it, I got a couple of young bulls out there. I talked to Denzel Ward. I talked to some, but I can't say the name. But anyway, I done talked to some people. He looked different. There's a difference when that young bull is out there spinning that ball. You hear me? Mm-hmm. Difference. I'm talking about football. I ain't talking about no media and all that hoopla and all them, on Twitter, they putting up the numbers. Some he was 10 for 12 for 2 touchdowns. I'm talking about when he's at the helm, he looks different. Whether he's going with the first team, second team, or third team. It don't matter. I understand getting drafted in the 5th round. All that means nothing when it's time to play football and that whistle blows. He looks different than the rest of the competition. That's what I heard. And I'm talking from a Not Brother Ward. I'm just talking about from sources that's in that room, that's on that field, that's playing the sport.
So that was Ocho Cinco. Quote, he looks different than the rest. That was coming from Denzel Ward, who we probably shouldn't have mentioned by name, but he did, and there's no taking it back on a live stream. Gee, when you hear someone like Ocho Cinco say that, before we dive into how much player pressure those guys can kind of put on the situation, what do you make of what Ocho Cinco said and how it regards to number 12?
Yeah, I mean, I heard a lot of people say that. I heard Zach Jackson say it. I heard Kurt Warner say it. I heard Bernie Kosar say it. I heard Drew Bledsoe say it. You know, it's not like he's the only person who's come out and say, hey, man, this dude look kind of good, man. Let me tell you what I heard. A lot of people reaching out to players in the locker room and stuff. To me, I think this is it's a red herring. Like, I'm supposed to suspend myself to disbelief that he was going to look bad. I've never expected him to look bad to start with. The 5th round quarterback stuff, that's involving perceptions, pre-draft analysis, and other teams talking about what he did and what he didn't do. For me, guess what? That's on them. If they ain't on the squad, hey, if he's not on their rosters, you know, you hear a bunch of people talking about how Jackson Darty's struggling or any of these other people are struggling and doing whatever the case may be. But for me, I'm taking it from what I looked at last year. I looked at the film. I watched all his games. I said, oh, I think this guy can throw the ball and I think he can play. He's came out this offseason and done nothing that has been different than I thought he was going to do and continue to do. So, you know, look, it's just all about timing, opportunity, and when he gets a chance to get the opportunity, still performing. So I'm not surprised at all.
Looks different. I don't know that anybody has said. To me, that means like he separated himself from everybody else. Is that the way you see it, Jay?
Yeah.
Okay. I mean,
Zach
Jackson did have high praise for him.
Certain quarterbacks have that
different aura to
difference maker about them.
I wonder. I think that's what I would love to know from Denzel and the other players, like exactly what they mean by looks different.
Yeah.
Because number one, we want him to look different. We need him to look different.
When you see Beyonce walk down the street, it's different.
Well, he doesn't look Beyonce different. Because I mean, just like there's a lot of players saying he looks different. Where is he on the depth chart? And you said definitively 4th. Now,
I'm basing that on the fact that he got 0 first-team reps.
Right. Now,
so just
we had floated the maybe not conspiracy theory, but theory on Friday that maybe that's by design. Well, it is by design. It didn't accidentally happen that he didn't get to hit the field with the ones. So we have to dig deeper into, okay, why didn't he get first-team reps? Do they think he's not ready? Do they think that if he gets those reps, that there might be things that are exposed that they don't want to be exposed yet? I don't know. That's for Kevin Stefanski to say. Here's the thing that my takeaway from that is, God, I hope so. I hope so. Because we need someone to look different. And even if it's that command in the huddle, because I agree with you, G, I think that is a skill set that is often overlooked. And if it comes down to a 4-way tie, to me, the guy that commands the huddle best gets the job until he loses the job. So I don't think it's a talent-based tie, though. I just don't. However, it's encouraging that guys inside that locker room are actually saying he looks different. I mean, presumably in a good way. Jay, I think the questions that we have that come after this, how much should player input and opinion play into who the coaches decide wins the job? In your experience, have you ever seen a locker room that was heavily in favor of one guy who might not have been the coach's guy, but he gets the nod because the players like him?
I mean, I'll go back to last year. I think the players were fed up with Deshaun, and it didn't matter. They were playing Deshaun. Coach kept standing in front of cameras saying he gives us the best chance to win. Yeah, so, no, I don't know that. I think it depends on the player. It's like in basketball, if LeBron walks in the coach's office and says something, it's going to carry a lot more juice than a cornerback or even a defensive end like Miles in the NFL. Usually it's the quarterback who has that juice. Sure. So when you're talking about the quarterback, I don't know. Listen, I think ultimately, Shedeur Sanders is going to start multiple games for the Browns this year.
Yeah.
I think he's going to get his opportunity. Do I think the players are going to pressure the coaching staff on when that happens? No.
I think the fans probably have more to do with that than anything.
And the Browns are pretty good at tuning that stuff out too. I mean, just based on, again, recent history and
well, just last year.
What the fans went through with Deshaun, what the organization experienced with Deshaun. Obviously, this is a completely different situation. I'm just saying there was a lot of public pressure and sentiment to go one way, and there were players in the locker room who wanted to go one way, and the organization continued on it.
Should I lose faith in the organization for whoever made that decision to say he gives us the best chance to win when every single fan in the Browns fan base would hear that and say that's ridiculous?
I'm not trying to compare Deshaun to Shedeur.
I know you're not, but I'm asking, should we even trust the coaches now on who they tell us gives us the best chance to win? Because they didn't miss by a little last year. They missed by a mile last year.
They had no choice in that.
Then say that. Organization wants to make sure that Deshaun Watson is not the guy.
When you saw that price tag.
Don't lie to us.
When you seen that price tag, everybody knew what it was. He is going to play. It's the reason why they didn't bring Flacco back. They said, no, we're not going to put it. We owe him how much money? All right, well, he got to play. It is what it is. Now, he got hurt, and I don't want to say it's a blessing for anybody to get hurt. That took that piece off the table. Now, but
at what price? It damaged the coaching staff's credibility.
I mean, come on. I mean, it's the Cleveland Browns. I mean, how much cachet do we have to lose here? Like,
I don't know if I have any left.
Yeah, like, okay, we lost a little bit.
I thought Kevin Stefanski. I mean, I had faith in Kevin Stefanski, but after last year, week after week, him saying he gives us the best chance to win. He gives us the best chance to win.
He doesn't. We knew Kev couldn't make that move. It's just the same way when he was paying Baker hurt. We all knew it.
I wanted them to make the change earlier than what they did too. I thought it was pretty evident early on Deshaun was shot. But in fairness, Jameis didn't win him a whole lot of games either, and Dorian didn't even look like an NFL quarterback.
No, but Dorian was not in the equation. But Jameson was a better quarterback last year.
Yeah, but
it didn't result in many more wins.
No, but it resulted in more wins.
But did it? I don't remember now.
Yeah, it was 1 versus 2. It was 1 versus 2.
Okay. So my thing is, look, man, I just take a look at which I like the way he's moving with this, man. You see, because I've always thought from Jump Street, if you just throw him out here and all of a sudden he's like, oh, he's competing with Flacco today, you know what people would say? They say, oh, here y'all go giving people another. You just let him. He didn't earn anything. You just let him 5th round pick. You threw him out there. He didn't earn nothing. You didn't find nothing about him. We're gonna give you first team.
Well, before
reps.
he gets anything, he's got to beat Flacco.
Well, that's what I'm saying. But if he was today,
I'm okay with them giving him reps to compete with Flacco.
Well, there would be a lot of people that would be okay with that.
I am,
because they would say
competition. Let's go.
They would say, you know what? He was the 3rd round. He was a 5th round pick over a 3rd rounder. They went and got Kenny Pickett first, and Joe Flacco knows the offense. So they'll say, why is it this guy is getting all these reps with the ones, and those other guys are mixing it in with him? I like the approach. You know why? Because guess what? It's mini camps, and you can say when he does start, or he does get an opportunity, there will be nobody or no detractor can look at you in your face and say he did not earn it. No one gave him anything. He was a 4th team quarterback all the way into camp until he started getting reps, and then that keeps your credibility as a coaching staff to say, I told you it was a real competition, and if you start off 5th, you're going to have to climb some stuff. So for me, I'm hoping this is what happens. I hope he gets his rep when the regular camp comes, and then you know when we're going to find out if he's different or not? When they get the pass on. And then it's undeniable.
Sure.
I think
we're going to find out when the game starts.
It's so early still. It's June 16th, guys.
Yeah.
I mean, June 16th last year, we still thought Deshaun was an NFL quarterback. We still thought he was good. I was
looking for 4,500.
I mean, this is so early in the process that I'm curious to see when this team returns for training camp, if he's still not getting rep, because I won't be surprised if you see when training camp starts.
No, training wheels come off at training camp.
He starts, and I don't think either of the rookies are starting week 1. I agree with you. We've talked about it. If it's close, throw the rookie out there. I want to see the rookie, but I think it'll be one of the veterans that starts week 1. But I've already been on record. I think Shedeur should start more games than any quarterback on this roster, just to get a look at what you've got. But I'll be curious to see if what we saw in OTAs and mandatory minicamp carries over to training camp, or if you start to see him climb up the roster, up the depth chart a little bit more.
Yeah, me too.
And at what point? Is it early?
We've used this as the answer all along, and this is what I love it. It's a meritocracy, man. Nobody's getting nothing they don't deserve. Nobody. And we're gonna find out. We're not gonna learn in OTAs because Denzel said he looks different. That doesn't rubber stamp anybody to the front of the line. We're not going to learn if he throws 3 picks in a practice in OTAs. That doesn't necessarily eliminate anybody from contention.
No.
We're going to find out when the pads go on. I can't wait for preseason. That's the first time I've ever said that in my life.
It's the joint practices that
Joint practices are huge.
Philly and Carolina.
What does he look like when the other team is trying? And when they want to knock his head off.
Is he getting those reps?
Yeah, well, he better. He better. Because we got to find out. And Joe said it's not going to take us long, Joe Thomas.
By the time, when is the, I should know this.
See, we don't have their schedule yet.
No, we have the joint practice schedule.
First week of August, third week of August, something like that.
I'm looking it up right now.
By the time, see, if it's middle of August, you're getting ready for the season.
Yeah, that's
like
late.
You're rolling starters.
It's weeks 1 and 2 of the preseason.
Oh, good. Probably by design.
Well, I mean, you're getting ready. You're trying to get your starters ready at that point. So I'll be. Well,
that's early in training camp, though. I mean, it's a couple weeks in.
Yeah, it is. But I just think there's a lot of work especially at that quarterback.
You wouldn't want to do it later, would you? Because the later you
go,
you
want to do it early.
You want the answer.
You want to do it early.
Yeah, get it out of the way.
I hope he gets live reps against the starting defense for Carolina.
I'd love. They won't do this. I know they won't do this. But I'd love if they would say, Shedeur Sanders, preseason game number 1, it's all you. The whole game.
Well, they won't do that.
I know they won't. But I want to see him.
But I think he'll play in week 1.
I want to see him.
I would be like, I would play. This may sound stupid. I wouldn't even pay Pickett.
I wouldn't either. Week 2, Dylan Gabriel, it's you.
I'm gonna play one guy is gonna play a half. Or if you want to mix it up, like, okay, you going to get a quarter, he going to get a quarter, you get a quarter, or you going to play one game and he going to play a game.
Do half and half. Give me to half.
Do half and half. I'll do half and half the first 2 games.
Let Shedeur start game 1 and Gabriel plays the second half. Flip it for game 2. And then, I don't need to see Flacco and Pickett. Have they changed since we saw them last? They are who they are. I need to find out who these 2 guys behind the hidden curtain are.
I want the practice. I want the preparation to go up. I want them to install a game plan for them. Script the first. I want to see how they look after coming back from a turnover or a touchdown.
Right.
I'm trying to see all of that. Can you get the team in audibles that you may like? Because it's going to be a lot of vanilla stuff. So for me, I'm giving these young boys an opportunity. And like you said, for the first time, I'm excited for training camp because I'm seeing a bunch of new players that are probably going to get some minutes for you. Mason Graham, I'm looking forward to. Do not be dinged up. I want to see you out there. Where's Mike Hall? Is Mike Hall?
He's fine.
He did practice.
Yeah,
he should be good.
He's good to go.
I need them. Those should be my start D tackles. Off top, I want to know Shelby Harris's. No, I need the young thoroughbreds in there.
Let's see what we got. If this is an exploratory year, the sooner the better.
Yes, it is.
The sooner the better.
Let me ask one more question, we can move on. Jason, you said that a guy like Denzel, for as accomplished as he is, doesn't hold the same weight as a LeBron if LeBron were to walk into a coach's office.
Or the quarterback.
And make a decision. Right. I understand that different sports and all that, but how much do you think potential player pressure could have an impact in this quarterback decision? You had mentioned that guys didn't necessarily want Deshaun last year. It didn't change. But this is a totally different situation where it's supposed to be an open battle. So in an open battle, does player pressure have any impact whatsoever? Should it?
Very little. I think it has very, very little.
What if the veterans came in and said, we want Joe Flacco? Would that change how much power they had compared to if they all said, we want Shedeur Sanders?
No.
It doesn't matter which player they're pining for.
I don't think so.
Okay.
No.
I don't think it does either. I think at the end of the day, it matters zero. I really do. I don't think the coach is making the decision based on a defensive back or Myles Garrett or Joel Bitonio. The coaches are going to sit down together. They're going to evaluate everything and pick the starter.
You were actually in a football locker room. What do you say on this?
Here's what means more when you do this. If Myles Garrett is rushing and he pump fakes Myles Garrett. He jumps up in the air, tries to knock the ball down. Shedeur Sanders gets outside and throws a back shoulder fade on Denzel Ward and Jamari Thrash for a touchdown in the corner of the end zone on a perfect play. That's when player counts.
Performance.
Like that's what it counts. Like, cause it don't matter what they say. They're gonna go back to the film room the next morning and be like, the coach is gonna say, "Look at that. Do you see that damn play right there?
Yeah.
This is a hell of a."
And they'll say the same thing if Dylan Gabriel makes that play.
That's a hell of a play right there.
If you're doing that to Myles Garrett
or Denzel Ward, that's where Denzel Ward name comes in. Are you dinking and dunking? Are you going away from Denzel Ward, or you have no inhibitions about going after him? If I'm open, he's open, I'm throwing over there. That's how you make a name about yourself. You got to make plays. Don't just be in your gap. It doesn't. Check downs don't count. You need production.
There we go.
Done.
Well said.
Yeah.
All right, let's move on to our next topic, guys. Our next topic is brought to us by Buckeye State Credit Union. If you haven't heard of them yet, meet your new favorite financial partner. Buckeye State Credit Union is a local institution offering everything from checking accounts to home equity lines of credit and auto loans with some of the lowest rates in Northeast Ohio. Their Cleveland branch is in Shaker Heights, which is one of 5 locations across the state, making it easy to find one near you. But even if you can't get to a branch, don't worry. They make banking simple with digital banking. They make it personal and convenient as well. That's what sets them apart at Buckeye. Their focus is you. Their core values: connect, simplify, and adapt. Got everything they do, bringing people together, cutting through the clutter, and they're innovative. To learn more, visit buckeyecu.org. Buckeye State Credit Union, your money simplified. So, guys, the UCSS text chain was popping off about this yesterday, but the Orlando Magic made a blockbuster deal this weekend, sending 4 unprotected first-round picks, KCP and Cole Anthony, to the Memphis Grizzlies for Desmond Bane. So before we dive into the deal itself, I wanted to ask this, and Jason, I'll start with you. Does this put even more pressure on Kobe to make some sort of big move, or is any kind of reactionary move to another team's big move a bad decision in the immediate aftermath? What say you?
The worst thing you can do is try and react to what other people in the league are doing. That teams will tell you that all the time. We're going to, in game plans, we're going to play the way that we play. We're going to make them react to us. So I don't think that you rush out and try and make a move. The Cavs are what they are. Nothing's really changed. We talked about this all offseason. Their big move was DeAndre, and it's painted them into a bit of a corner with the second apron. They knew that going in. Now, obviously, the season didn't end the way that anyone thought that it would, but they knew what they were getting into when they made that trade. It took all of their trade capital to get Donovan here, and then they had to keep their powder dry for quite a while, and you didn't see a whole lot of moves out of them because they knew where the cap was going. They knew they were going to have to max out Evan, and then they made the DeAndre move when they did, and that again has taken their capital because of the second apron implications. So this is their team. I'm not anticipating a big move. I've written that I don't know how you bring Jared Allen back to this. I maintain that, but I don't know that there's a great Allen trade out there either. I didn't think Darius was getting traded before the surgery, before the toe surgery. I think it really complicates that now. This is who they are. And yeah, other teams in the East are going to make their big moves. Orlando fired a massive bullet yesterday, and you can debate whether or not it was worth it for all that they gave up.
They gave up a lot, Jay.
They did. I was shocked at the price. I think a lot of people in the NBA were shocked at the price. But you can't worry about what Orlando is doing necessarily. Yeah, they're really big now. Like they were already a physical, tough team, and now they're even bigger, particularly in the backcourt. It's going to make a tough matchup, but you can't just run out and say, well, we got to make a move to match Orlando and Desmond Bane, because there's a lot of other teams in the East. Whoever saw the Pacers coming. You know, I'll go back to when the Cavs got Shaq, it was to match up with Dwight Howard.
Yeah.
And that never even transpired.
Nope.
So when you start making those moves like that, it typically doesn't end the way that you think it's going to.
Man, oh man. So I'm just looking at the size. Black is how tall?
Anthony Black's 6'7".
All right, Bane, what, 6'5"?
Bane is 6'5", but he's only one of 4 players in the NBA with a negative wingspan. So he is he's 6'5" with 6'3" arms.
Okay.
So he's not
Not as long as, yeah.
I mean, but he still got 4 inches on our boys, right? Okay. Let me just get you to get that. Let's talk about what is
Suggs is 6'5".
Suggs 6'5".
Gallows 6'10". Wendell Carter Jr. 6'10".
And they still got one. They might bring. Can they bring one of the Wagner's back? His brother.
Yeah, they're both under contract now. Mo's coming off ACL injury, but yes.
See, this is what I'm talking about. These dudes, they paid a lot for it. You know what they paid for? They paid for. This is called a blood in the water move. They're looking at Jason Tatum. Tatum might not be here for a whole year. Let me look at with the Bucks.
And they already know the Celtics are going to dismantle in some way, shape, or form.
Dame Lillard, you out for a whole year. We never believed in the Hawks like that. So now we got to get through the Knicks. We got to get through. The Pacers,
the Cavs,
and then the Cavs. But they're the Cavs, dog. We like playing the Cavs. And one of their players is coming off injury, the one that's always injured. And we already know what's up with Jared Allen. They look at this thing, and I'm telling you this too. The Detroit Pistons are going to be physical.
Yeah.
Detroit and Orlando, they smell blood in the water. They feel like it's an opportunity to catch them. And the Cavs, yes, they peaked a little bit too early. I would have rather the Cavs sneak up on somebody, but they got 64 wins, so you're never going to sneak up on nobody. And you look at the way the teams is built. All those teams are built with long, lengthy, physical guys that gonna be able, they're gonna get up in you, make sure that they feel their presence on the court. And so my thing is now, because the Cavs are where they are, we're in this no man's land where it's kind of like, man, I think they need to make a move, but there ain't no move to be made. And I've already said it 5, 6, 7,000 times. I don't think the moves that you can have in your heart of hearts is Jared Allen or Darius Garland. Garland's gonna be out. Jared Allen is who he is. Marketing is a funny thing because we say core four. We use Jared Allen as part of the core four because we needed something to build on when the whole LeBron era was coming to an end. He was one of the main pieces that we got earlier and was like, okay, this is a piece we can build around. But to be honest, Jared does some things that could give you some points around the basket. He's a hustler, but you can't throw the ball into Jared Allen and tell him to go to work. You can't throw him the ball on the elbow and tell him to go get busy. He's not a post. He doesn't have a bunch of post moves. He's a rim runner. He's an energy guy, and some of that stuff gets negated in the postseason. So it's really not a core three. It's like it's two and a possible because you don't know what Darius Garland gonna give you because he's hurt a lot. So to me, Orlando looked at Cleveland and said, "We don't believe you. You need more people."
Yeah, this is tough, man. This is really tough because I don't like our undersized backcourt to begin with. And now you've got another team looking at the team that won the most games in the regular season and doing something to counteract what they can do. And, man, like you said it, Jay, Indiana kind of came out of nowhere. I mean, yeah, they made the conference finals last year, but everyone thought that was a fluke.
Yeah.
And then when they're up 2-1 on OKC, everyone thinks that was a fluke.
No, they're good. They're
good.
No, they're good. They're good.
They're here. And I'm with you on this point too, G. Like, you just can't wave the magical trade wand anymore like you used to. There are too many cap considerations that need to go in to making trades that make a difference. And, Jay, you started your point by saying, I think it's a bad idea for any team to start making reactionary moves. You are who you are. Yeah. Now, you can change who you are in the offseason, but I just don't see that magical trade out there that suddenly makes every other team in the East go, the Cavs just made the move that everybody dreaded. Now, all that being said, I am floored by what Orlando, I'm looking at the pieces in this thing, and I don't know, are they that close and he is the missing link? Like, this is a win a championship or move bust. They gave up more than the Cavs did to get Donovan Mitchell.
Yeah, I think part of it, I didn't realize, we were talking on the group chat yesterday. I know KCP had a little bit of a down year. I still think he's a decent player, but he's got a big, big contract. So I think you can break this up and say, I think he's owed $45 million, $42 million over the next 2 years.
He's making 22, so $44 million.
$44 million. So, and this may segue into one of the topics that Mike want to talk about later with Okoro.
You'll do that next.
But with $44 million, that's a lot of money. Now, I don't look at that as maybe I'm wrong. Maybe it's more of an anchor contract than I'm giving it credit for. But if you're saying this is a dead contract and we're trying to get off this money, that's probably worth 2 first-round picks right there. So if you break it up that way, it's 2 picks for Desmond Bane and 2 picks to get off KCP. But when you're trading 4 picks for a guy who's never made an All-Star game, who
mind-boggling,
is a good player, he's a good player.
He's a good fit more than he's a good player. I mean, he is a good player.
His mindset.
He's a top 50 guy.
His mindset.
Okay, top 50. When you look at the assets that were given up to acquire a top 50 guy,
I hear you.
And you know what? I think that also, if we already knew that we were in this era of moves are tough to come by, but my God, if that's the asking price, what?
Take that. Let me see their line right here.
They could also, by the way, when you see the lineup, if they want to go with an extra guard instead of Wendell Carter Jr., you can slide in Anthony Black to that.
Listen,
they got some flexibility.
Look, now we talk about Mobley.
I don't know that I'd pick them to win the East next year.
We talk about Mobley, right? They feel like they got the best unicorn.
I was actually thinking about that driving in today. If it's a Cavs Magic playoff series, who's the best player on the floor? I don't know.
Donovan still.
I still think so too.
Man.
As of today,
unless if Mobley can take a jump next year equal to his jump last year, I think he could be with Donovan as the best player on the Cavs.
Banchero had moments in that playoff series where I thought this dude's going to be the face of the league in 3 years.
He's
I agree
250.
with that. Yeah, I know.
He can shoot threes. He can give you 40 and 20 light. I'm sitting there looking at this. I said, why wouldn't you make it? If they think they got Banchero as a unicorn, that big they got Wagner, right? Desmond Bane ain't no pushover. He fit right what they like to do. He's a rough rider.
Like Indiana, they're an energy team.
Look,
they get after it, man.
He's coming from a culture of physicality into a culture of physicality.
And Jalen Suggs is a football player masquerading as a point guard, tackling people.
And we don't have that.
And he is a all defensive type mentality. And I think he made no second team all defense, right?
He may have been a first team. He's a phenomenal defender. Jalen Suggs is a phenomenal defender.
I'm not trying to play them in those 7 games.
I'm not either.
Can I give you the counter to the Orlando real quick?
Yeah.
Yeah, sure.
And G, for the record, and I said this in the group chat last night, Bane's a terrific fit. Jason and I did a what young core do you want most moving forward for the next 5 years. I picked Orlando. I like Orlando a lot. So when I say this, I am simply saying this. This is the devil's advocate version of it. And take that graphic again. We talk about Darius Garland's playoff woes, not healthy enough. Suggs has missed more playoff games in fewer playoff attempts than Darius Garland.
No kidding.
His injury history is he's missed more games the last 4 years than Darius has. And he's had 1 season in his career where he's been over a 38% three-point shooter, not a shooter. Franz Wagner, as good as Franz is, and I love Franz's game, he doesn't have a three-point jump shot. He shot 29% from 3 this season. He shot 28% from 3 last season. Those numbers have gone down even further in the playoffs.
Yeah, but he gives you other things.
I'm just saying this in the playoffs.
I know that's
not a shooter.
That's a deficiency.
How
Banchero,
is he?
same. What do you say?
How tall is Wagner?
Franz is listed at 6'9". Big dude. Very, very good player. Very, 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 very good player.
I like him a lot.
Not a shooter.
Plays hard.
Banchero, same thing.
Opponents
not a
always
good
hate him.
three-point shooter. Great scorer. That still has to develop. Anthony Black, same thing. And I like Anthony Black's game a lot, G. Not a three-point shooter yet. They got a lot of dudes outside of Bane who can score going downhill, getting to the paint. But if you're looking at this team on paper now, and these guys are all young and can develop, and they may turn into better three-point shooters, that is an area that you would look at and say, do they have the shooting required to win a championship? I'm not quite sure they have it at the moment, but Suggs has shown, at least for that 1 season, he could shoot. Wagner was a good shooter coming out of college. I don't know what's happened to him. Banchero, I'm not putting a ceiling on anything that dude can do. He's a monster. And they still have some requisite pieces to make some deals if they want to add more shooting elsewhere. So.
Yeah, shooting was an issue when they played the Cavs in the playoffs, and that hasn't really been addressed.
Well, Bane is a good shooter.
Yes.
Bane's a very good shooter.
What did he shoot? 40%, I think, from 3 this year?
Yeah.
Bane shot 39.6% from 3. So, yeah, 40% shooter. For his career, he's a 41% three-point shooter.
It's good.
It helps.
I'm curious that you picked Orlando as the best core over the next 5 years in the East.
I love Banchero.
I know, I do too.
Banchero and Wagner those two alone at 6'10", and the playmaking they both have, that's like the requisite of what you want to build teams around. So it was
Those
close.
draft picks are
I
all
didn't think it was a
unprotected, right?
landslide.
Yeah.
Say it again?
Yeah.
Those draft picks are all unprotected, right?
Yeah, and if I knew they didn't have any first-round picks for the next 5 years, maybe I would have changed that. But we did this 2 weeks ago. So
See, that's the problem. When you're in the playoffs and you playing these teams, you just start to, and when you get stacked up and you start to see, oh, wow, we played Cade Cunningham. He was a 6'7" monster at point guard. Oh, there was I forget which one of the Thompsons they got who's a monster on the ball.
they got Sarr.
Sarr Thompson running around here, athletic freak and do what he wants to do. You're like, wow, that's kind of, not to mention, we're still not talking about the Knicks. We're still not talking about some of these other teams and the Pacers, what they can do. Look, windows is a very fickle thing. I haven't seen somebody's window play out like a fairy tale in a long time. People make multiple moves, iterations just to get where they're going to go. I'll be interested to see what the Cavs do.
And yeah, we know the Cavs are going to try to make some move, which leads us right into our next topic. Brought to you by Game Time. There's nothing like the NBA playoffs, the intensity, the buzzer beaters, fans losing their minds. It's the kind of atmosphere you must experience live. And this year's matchups are already delivering. If you want in, Game Time makes it fast and easy to get seats, even for the biggest playoff games. Prices on the app drop the closer you get to tip-off with killer last-minute deals, panoramic seat views, and no surprise fees. Game Time is a total game changer. Take the guesswork out of buying tickets with Game Time. You can download the app, create an account, and use promo code LOCKEDONNFL for $20 off your first purchase. Once again, create an account, redeem code LOCKEDONNFL for $20 off. Download Game Time today. Last-minute tickets, lowest prices guaranteed. For the Cavs to make some sort of counter-reactionary move to the Desmond Bane deal, they most likely have to get under the second apron to have more flexibility to do that. And Chris Fedor of Cleveland.com and the Wine and Gold podcast mentioned that the team is looking to unload Isaac Okoro. The issue is they're struggling to find a team willing to take on his $11 million salary over the last 2 years. This is from Chris Fedor this weekend on the Wine and Gold report. Quote, from everything that I'm told, they're having a hard time finding anybody that has legitimate interest in Isaac Okoro unless Isaac comes with some kind of sweetener from the Cavs. He continued to say, some kinds of assets attached to his contract, because I think there are teams out there that are looking at Isaac and they're saying, we'd be doing you a favor by taking on his contract, so make it worth our time to do that. Make it worthwhile for us to do that. Give us future second-round picks. Go find a first-round pick somehow that then you can trade us along with Isaac. Then we'll help you out. He carries an $11 million salary over the next 2 years. Jason, we've talked about that being a potential issue, the Cavs not having assets to unload some of these contracts to make their cap situation a little more feasible. Do you see Isaac Okoro and a deal happening in some sort? And what would that sweetener be, the Cavs, which they frankly don't have a ton of right now?
Yeah, I don't think you can attach a one to Okoro. You can't trade a one until 2031, and you need that to hopefully improve your roster at some point in the next 6 years. Jeez. So I don't know that you can use that to get off the money with Isaac, and I don't know that twos. Is a team really willing to spend $22 million to buy second-round picks? I mean, maybe, but I don't think so. I would say that's more unlikely than likely. So it's kind of a tough spot that they're in. I made the argument last summer. Rarely do you see guys in his position last year sign the qualifying offer, but I thought that was the best path for both sides. I think we did a show on that.
Yeah,
we talked about it at length about if you take the qualifying offer, if you're Isaac, you can then cash in an unrestricted free agency if you have a big year. And the Cavs chose to sign him to an extension instead that was a little bit below the qualifying offer last year. But now they're in a spot where, they would have to dump Isaac and Dean to get out of the second apron, I believe. That's the numbers that I believe. It's not just Isaac, it's Isaac and Dean. And I told Mike last week or 2 weeks ago, I was told the same thing. They were trying to move Isaac. I don't think there's a lot of takers for him. No. If Isaac could shoot, he'd be a beast in this league. But teams don't believe in his shot, and they don't believe in his shot in the postseason. So I think that they're in a really tough spot with this. I'll be curious to see how it unfolds.
Yeah, him and Dean Wade is unplayable in the playoffs. They just are. We talk about his shot. I don't. It's his whole offensive game. At least if you was a slasher. At least if you was a guy that just put your head down and get to the rim. Or y'all got to realize this. We lost games because the people we had couldn't dribble.
Yeah, that's a fact.
Sam Merrill can't dribble. Ty Jerome cannot dribble. I don't understand. Your guard. Isaac Okoro cannot dribble. Dean Wade cannot put the ball in the goal. They threw a high school press on you, and you folded like you was playing at the Schottenstein Center down the state. This looks like Cincinnati Roger Bacon versus Lake St. Ed's, right? This is why I'm like, y'all got to 2-1-2 presses melting you like that?
That's kind of why Darius is important, by the way.
Wow. Mikey.
That is exactly why Darius is important.
Jimmy Christmas.
Because when he's not on the floor,
8 seconds.
You had like the last 50 seconds of game 2, where every single play in the play chart was a negative play for the Cavs, whether they were on offense or on defense. It was a inbound that was intercepted.
Yeah.
It was a turnover. It was a
they didn't get the ball over half court.
They couldn't do it. And you know, the one thing that we've always talked about, but it really jumped out at me this year, the difference between the regular season and the playoffs. We had guys on our team that looked like all-stars in the regular season.
Yep.
Those same players looked like they couldn't find the court in the playoffs.
They were slow. I couldn't believe it hit me to my soul. I said, is the Indiana Pacers that much athletically better than us? I mean, it looked like Nembhard they just knew where the position was and was morphing to the spot. Like, nope, I'm here. Mather, nope, I'm already here too. You might as well give up. I'm like, this is starting to turn and look like Japanese anime cartoons. This is some Dragon Ball Z stuff. These guys, their power levels is way too high for us to be seeing. Look, when you look at Okoro, he was the number 5 pick. I don't think he's done anything in the league.
God.
He's a 5. He's a lottery pick. I don't think he's gotten better at anything. He's still athletic. Even he plays hard defensively.
He's improved his three-point shot since he came in the league. He's still not a guy that teams fear in the postseason. But he's a better three-point shooter now than he was.
I'm letting him shoot at any time.
Three-point percentage?
12.
It felt like it was 12.
Every time.
It counts for 4 misses when you hit the side of the backboard. What was it?
But it's just minimal attempts. It's not even enough attempts to really quantify. I have a question.
That's way better than I thought it would be.
Real quick for you guys. So that was the COVID draft. The year the Cavs took Okoro at number 5. That was a very, very weird
Everything
draft.
was weird about that
I'll give you the top 12 real quick. I'll give you the top 14 because some names are irrelevant. Anthony Edwards went 1. Right pick. Great pick.
What you mean?
James Wiseman went 2. Terrible. Out of the league.
Oh, my God.
LaMelo Ball was 3.
He's better than
he's a player. He's a legitimate player. Patrick Williams went 4. Patrick Williams is an abomination on a horrific contract.
Yep.
Isaac Okoro went 5. Onyeka Okongwu, solid player for Atlanta.
This proves once again
6.
nothing good came from the COVID year.
Killian Hayes, out of the league, was 7. Obi Toppin was 8.
Wait, 3 of the top 7 are out of the league.
And he played for Detroit.
No.
It was getting
2
minutes.
of the top 7 out.
Hayes was out quick.
God.
Wiseman's out. Hayes is out. I actually think Wiseman's actually on a team, but doesn't play.
I think he is on a team.
Toppin was 8.
Okay.
Denny Advia was 9. Jalen Smith was 10.
Okay.
Got cut after 1 year in Phoenix. 2 years in Phoenix, excuse me. Devin Vassell was 11. Tyrese Halliburton was 12. Kira Lewis Jr., who is no longer playing, was 13, and Aaron Nesmith was 14.
Love to go back and swap Okoro
So my question is, because that was the COVID year, no in-person workouts, all Zoom interviews. Jason, I don't know if you have any insight on this whatsoever. I'm asking a question I hadn't thought about till right now.
Why?
How differently do you think that draft plays out if it wasn't a COVID year where they could actually have some of these guys in person for workouts, not just evaluating tape from a lot of one-and-dones who played in front of minimal crowds at best, where you didn't truly get a gauge of what they can do in pressure situations?
Yeah, I think it's a fascinating look to go back in all the leagues and look at COVID and how would those drafts be differently, and what did teams learn? Did teams learn anything about themselves having to go through that? Did they keep anything about that. Did they feel like they missed badly because of that? I don't have the answer on that. I know Obi Toppin, I was told now, was it just smoke to throw everyone off the trail, or was it real? Obi Toppin was tied heavily to the Cavs in the run up to that draft. Wow. I'd heard from a couple different people that they were interested in Toppin, and then they took Okoro.
What put them over the top on Okoro, do you know? His athleticism?
You know, I never asked. I think it was athleticism, his ability to defend, and they felt like his shot would come. Like the shot would develop. Because, again, if he becomes a dead-eyed three-point shooter, he's making a lot of money in this league.
You aren't kidding.
Because he's got the body of an NFL tight end. But
he's a good defender, too.
Just the shot never developed like I think people thought that it could.
When you watch them tapes in the playoffs, he is naked, wide open. They don't even look at him.
They don't.
No. They don't even look at him.
Gee, when he was playing well last year, when he was shooting the lights out last year, I think we talked about on the show, I poked around with a couple teams and said, how would you guard the Cavs in the playoffs? I said, you shrink off Okoro until he proves he can. You can make him in the regular season all day long, but until you make him the postseason, teams don't believe he can make him. And they were right.
God, I'd take 37.5%.
Fool's gold.
Yeah, but it's on like 1.5 attempts per game. It's just
I know, but I mean, okay, so
Fool's
last
gold.
year he was terrible in the playoffs.
Fool's gold.
What was he last year?
His numbers in the playoffs last year. So this year he was 37.5% on 1.8 attempts per game. Last year in the playoffs he was 26% on 3 attempts per game, and the year before he was 30% on 2.7 attempts per game. For his career in the playoffs, he's 29.7% on 2.5
that's a
attempts.
Teams do not guard him in the postseason.
On possessions where Donovan or Darius then dribble the ball, breaking their neck, going around 6'7", 6'8" guys to find the open shooter, and then you need a big one, and then clank, and now you're right back on defense.
Side of the backboard.
Right. When you're in the playoffs, when you're right back on defense, it hurts your heart so much. Because you know, like think about how good SGA is at causing fouls, or Halliburton. It's like they're getting you in foul trouble, and then when you come down, you got to bust your tail just to even get good looks. And then those good looks aren't really good looks because the defense gave you those looks. They're like, that's exactly what we were teaching the practice and walk around. Go ahead, shoot that, Dean.
So we'll wrap up this with this, Jason. Do you think when it's all said and done, Isaac Okoro is on the Cavaliers next year, or will they find a trade partner willing to take on his 2 years, $22 million remaining?
I think he's on the team because I don't think you can attach a 1 to him, and I don't know. I still think that he does provide value during the regular season. And remember, you got to get through 82 to get to the playoffs. Everyone wants the regular season doesn't matter. Well, you still got to survive 82 games to get there, and you got to be moderately healthy. You know, you want to be optimally, you want to be fully healthy when you get to the playoffs. So he does provide a service, and he does fill a role on this team. I think he's here. I don't think that they're going to make any significant changes to this team. Now, you know, I actually think Dean Wade has more trade value than Isaac Okoro because
I was going to ask next.
Yeah, because Dean's got, I think, 1 year left at like $7 million.
Yeah, I think it was 6.5, but
and as big
thing.
as he is, and the way that he is a shooter, and he can defend, and he can rebound, Dean is more attractive than Isaac. Now, is he attractive enough as the sweetener, and now you're out of the second apron? You know, you trade them both out, but now you got to make the money work. And
I don't think he is. I mean, I just don't.
What's Isaac have left? 2 years?
Isaac is 2 at 11 each, and Dean is 1 for 6.5.
It's not a totally offensive, egregious contract. 2 years and $22 million. That's not outrageous in the NBA.
No,
but
for what we got from him in the playoffs.
Bro,
by the way, Dean Wade historically has been even worse from 3 in the playoffs.
I know. We saw it this year.
I'd rather see Jalen Tyson just hey, listen. I don't care. I don't care what happens.
Make it look different.
Oh, Tyson's gonna have opportunities.
I mean, I think
he's gonna have opportunities.
Because there's another thing too. I get it. A lot of people said, "Oh, we can't do much. We can't do much with this. We can't do no much." No, you got some people on the bench that we gonna have to see something. And Darius Garland gonna be out for 5-6 months. It's gonna take him to November, December to get back.
He'll miss training camp, preseason, and maybe a couple weeks of the start of the season.
Hey, you better be rotating some of these young guys. Now, what they doing with Sam Merrill? They got a qualified offer here for him?
He's unrestricted free agent.
And so is Ty Jerome, right?
So is Ty.
So this is a moot point, right? Because if they bring them back to get rid of these dudes, ain't nothing else, no money left, right?
Well, I don't think there's any world where they're bringing back Merrill and Ty. I think it's one or the other.
And even if they do bring Ty back, it's kind of a wash.
What do you mean a wash?
Like if you get rid of Dean Wade and you get rid of Isaac Okoro's contract.
I mean, it's if you get that $17 million off your books, you're out of the second apron. Now it depends on how much you're giving Ty, whether or not you're going right back in or not.
See, I don't like that. If I'm gonna get under, I need to get under.
It's easier said than done. And
I don't love this new world NBA.
I totally agree with that point, but I've been told adamantly it is not going away. This is here to stay.
You know, one thing that would help this discussion down the road. Where are the ratings through 4 games of the NBA playoffs?
Down 24%.
Yeah,
are they down 24%? Because the regular season was down 25%.
I know they're down. I don't know if the numbers and if it's down over last year or what it's down over, but I know that it's down. But it's been a great series.
It's been great, and I hope it goes 7. I really do. For the league's sake, they need that 6th and 7th bake sale.
Yeah,
you would know this.
By the way,
you would know real quick. You would know this. I was told a sweep, the network loses money.
Big.
5 is break even.
Yes.
6 is
and
profit.
7 are icing on the cake.
6 is profit, and 7 is a bonanza.
Now, here's the problem with that. If ratings are down 25%, your revenue is down 25%. You're selling a rate card based on a promise. We're going to give you 12 million households per game times 7, 84 million households. Well, if you play 4 games and you underdeliver, you're at a huge deficit.
Wow.
And what drives the league, the reason we've got these mid players making $10 million a year is because these TV contracts have gotten to the point where they're unsustainable. That's why you're seeing the league change hands. Why? Why have the Olympics never changed hands? The Olympics, I mean, CBS had them for a while, but for the most part,
had them for 40 years.
You know why? They're money in the bank. They're gold. You know what you're going to get. And networks like to know what they're going to get.
Yeah.
When the reason the NBA property is changing hands is because certain rights holders are saying, you know what? We can't count on this. There's a scenario where we lose tens of millions of dollars. We're not equipped to do that anymore.
But Jay, when you advertise, ain't I giving you? So I want to advertise on the Jay Crawford network. I'm giving you money based on what you think your number is going to be at your whatever you're putting on.
Well,
TV.
not what I think it's going to be. Like there's a rating for every show. So that's what you're selling. You're selling a number.
If you don't hit that number, does that mean I pay less?
Yes, sure.
But
it means you get now more inventory. The network isn't going to give you more money.
That's what I'm saying. You're right.
But if you buy 100 spots for $100 million, and the number promised was X, and you're X minus, now instead of giving you 100 spots, they're giving you 120 spots.
Okay.
Make goods. They've got to make you whole. They told you that they were going to deliver a certain number of viewers. Now they've got to deliver them. And so, but when you're running a commercial that's a make good, that's a freebie, you're not making money.
So for my point of view, I'm like, oh well, cool. As long as my commercial's getting paid.
Yeah, well, as an advertiser, sure. Now in the Super Bowl, I think things are different. There's so much competition for ads in the Super Bowl. In the Super Bowl, first of all, it rarely under-delivers, so there's really not that problem. But certain sporting events are so big that this is what it's going to cost you no matter what. And if it runs in the fourth quarter and it's a 40-point game, sorry. That's the risk you take.
It's crazy. Abdullah Mason will join us. He's running a little late, so we're going to do Guardians. Then we'll bring in Abdullah Mason, the undefeated Cleveland boxing kid, coming up shortly. But first, the NBA Finals in full swing. Major League Baseball is in the middle of its season. Even though the Guardians can't score any runs, you can still bet on them and bet on the unders If you're looking to make some cash, FanDuel makes it easy to stay in the game before tip-off and live with player props, performance trends, same-game parlays. Fans have more ways than ever to play smart and win big. If you're new to FanDuel, it's the perfect time to sign up. Head to FanDuel.com/UCSS and place your first $5 bet. If it wins, you get $200 in bonus bets. Make every moment more with FanDuel, the official sports betting partner of the NBA. Jay, Guardians got swept. The floor is yours.
It's a wrap. Season's over. Not the season. They could still win a wild card. They're not winning the division. You're 10 games out. You're 9.5 games out, and it's not yet the middle of June. And I'm not saying that just based on what the Guardians look like and who they are. You know by June 1st, you know for sure by July 4th what your team is. We know what this team is. We also know what the competition is. I had a friend of mine who's a Tiger fan text me today. And it was a glance at the standings, and he goes, "I didn't see this coming." And I picked Detroit to win the division.
I did too.
But I picked all 4 of those teams to be within 5 games of one another. That's not the way it's shaking out. Detroit's a phenomenal baseball team. Phenomenal.
They can hit. Best record in baseball.
Best record in baseball. They can hit. They can pitch. It's not just Skubal either. Skubal's phenomenal, but it's not just Skubal. And let's face it, guys, we are a 500 team. That's who we are. We can't hit. We have hole after hole after hole in the lineup. This kills me to say this. But Detroit didn't just leapfrog Cleveland. They went by us with a space shuttle. They just absolutely obliterated us. And they're in a different zone now. And now, Jay, you literally have to start thinking about giving away pieces. You have to.
What pieces are those?
Well, why would you hold Carlos Santana?
Oh yeah. I mean, I never.
Jay, you brought that up Friday, and we weren't talking about it because you were fire sailing because you're not going to win the division. We were talking about it because you got a log jam. What are you going to do at first base? You've got to play Manzardo. You have to, despite the fact he's going to hit 190 this year or whatever it's going to be.
Crazy.
You got to play him, and we still have. It's the middle of June. Who's our right fielder? Who's our second baseman? Hell, who's our shortstop? Outside of Hosey and Quan, our starting pitching, it's flip a coin. Flip a coin. They can be absolutely lights out great, and then they can be like Ortiz the other night. Clase had gone 7 straight appearances where he hadn't given up a run. He melted down and blew a save. This was a team that they should have taken 2 of 3 from. They got swept.
Yeah.
Is it time for Clase? Is it time?
You're thinking about it, Jay.
Is that your biggest piece?
He's a piece.
To trade him?
Yeah.
He's a piece, man.
I don't think they trade him because
You got Cade Smith.
Yeah, we were talking about this. I mentioned this on the group chat last night. I think they've been quietly listening on him for quite a while now.
Price has gone down.
Well,
right?
that's the thing. The Guardians famously sort of set their price, and they don't budge. And to this point, no one has come up and met the price. And now,
but meantime, his value has gone down.
His value is
like
dipped.
Significantly
down.
down.
His value is dipped from the last postseason through to what we've seen now. His value's certainly gone down, and I don't know that they would readjust and come down. So I think he's here at least through this season. I don't think the season's over. I disagree with that.
Well, I corrected that. Their chances of winning the division are gone. You're not coming back from 10 down against a team like Detroit.
Well, Detroit's leaking a little bit of oil. Jackson Job's out for the year with Tommy John. They just lost their closer yesterday. We'll wait and see the news on him.
They can hit.
But what Detroit has is they have a farm system that's absolutely loaded, one of the best in the game, and they have a clock.
That was us 2 years ago.
And they have a clock ticking over their head because they have a year and a half left with Tarek Skubal.
Yep.
And they're probably not going to re-sign him.
I told my buddy who sent that, I go, your window's small. You better win while Skubal's wearing a D.
Yeah.
Because he's a guy, I said this last year, before the Tiger series started, everybody was saying, we're going to kill the Tigers. We're going to kill the Tigers. And I kept telling everybody, you better be careful of what you root for. Because I'm telling you, this Tigers team is playing the best baseball in all of Major League Baseball at the end of the season. And with Tarek Skubal in a 5-game series, he's going to start at least twice. And you got to find one win from another pitcher, and that's what they weren't able to do. But now that they've filled in a little bit, and I know the injury hurts, but this is a team that it's incredible to me how they went from a perennial 100-loss team to the best team in baseball right now.
What's interesting to me, and I'm not trying to play gotcha, but I'm interested that you feel like throw it up, throw your hands up, it's over, trade these guys.
Yep.
Because when they traded Savali,
I was furious.
Yeah, and
Furious.
it feels like they're in a very similar spot now to where they were then. So what's the difference?
They were 2 games out when they traded Savali, and there were
of
3 trades.
But they're 1 game out of the wild card right now.
I know they are, but you got to look at what they are. Like, who are they?
And that's why I agreed with the Savali trade.
I believed in that team's pitching, and that's how you win in the playoffs. If you give me 2 lights out aces, I've got a chance. I can scrap together 2 or 3 runs, and that might be enough.
And if Bieber's back in a month?
Who's going to? How is this team going to score, Jeff?
But I'm just saying, Bieber's back in a month.
Okay, that's every 5th day.
Yeah.
Then the other days you throw Bibee out there, who one day looks like he's a Cy Young.
Bibee's been very
and the next
erratic.
day he looks like Tim Smith.
Yeah.
You're like, who is this guy?
Can the Guardians afford to be a very minimal team in terms of on the fringes of what they spend, and they got to make certain moves, if they do not have a top 5 farm system?
No.
Because
that's how they survived, right?
That's how
their farm system is how they've survived.
I mean, their farm system has let them down.
Big.
Because that's where your guys is coming from. You're not going to find them. You basically develop them, throwing them out there.
You are a developmental team for the 8 coastal operations that can afford the first-time free agent guys.
I mean, we haven't even talked about the Devers trade yesterday. That was mind-blowing.
Holy cow! I couldn't believe that.
We got a jam-packed overtime with the finals, the Devers deal, and
I couldn't believe that.
But
trade.
that's a world that the Guardians will never live in.
Never.
To take on $200 million.
Well, with this ownership, what Blitzer decides to do, we'll find out as we go along.
But yeah, for feels like years we kept talking about the 40-man roster crunch. They've got all these prospects coming up that they have to protect, so they got to make decisions on guys.
None of them panned out,
and they just
that's wild.
But it just feels like I don't think the season's over. Now I agree. I was in favor of the Savali trade because I felt like that team wasn't going anywhere, and it just felt like at no point did I think this team can win a championship.
Do you think this team can?
I think this team needs, and I don't really. I try and avoid dramatic things like this. I think this team needs a dramatic shakeup. They're tough to watch. It's just tough to even sit down and watch the games.
Hosey never gets frustrated. His 38-game on-base streak was snapped yesterday, or 39, whatever it was.
Yeah.
Did you see after his strikeout in the first inning, he slammed himself in the helmet with his bat? Hosey's a guy who never shows the frustration. Now, he's been playing well. He's been hitting.
Yeah.
To me, what that was, I'm sure it was disappointment in himself.
Yeah.
But you're starting to see Hosey's frustration in everybody else's incompetence boil over.
I just think that they need a jolt. And whether that jolt is a trade, whether that jolt is...
Is it Shane Bieber?
I think, you can't rush that. That's an injury return.
And what have we heard about Shane? He pushed off his start.
He's coming back.
I know, but do we know when?
Yeah, they were... I don't know if he made it yet, but he was cleared to resume. I think he was going to throw a bullpen and then resume his... rehab assignment. So it's basically
so they
what
shut
we
him
said.
down for 2 weeks.
Yeah, it was what we said it was.
Yeah.
It really was a nothing. He's back on progression to return. I think Chase DeLauder could be up any day. And is that the answer? I don't know. But he's the top-level prospect right now that I think could come in and try and inject a little bit of life into this team. The
one thing that's helped them is the Twins and Royals have stubbed their toes, too.
They're still not playing him. I texted Zach Meisel, I said, you think you could come up on this West Coast trip? Just watching the game Friday night, I just felt like, I just wonder if DeLauder would be close. And he said they're still not playing him 4 days in a row, and that's the whole thing with him. Yeah. Obviously, he's had so many injuries. He's got to get in the habit of playing every day. But I thought, had he not had the core injury in spring training, I thought he'd have been up after about 30 days.
When does Bazzana return? Was it 60 days with him?
Oh, it was like 6 to 8 weeks.
Oh, well...
4 to 6 or 6 to 8. I don't remember now.
Either way, that was
a month
I thought it was 6 to 8 too.
He's not making an impact on
this
team
team
this year.
But the reason I ask about him is just get him back in baseball.
Yeah,
man,
get him playing.
Their farm system is like
MLB.com
going
has
to the
8 to 10
store.
weeks for the oblique injury.
For Bazzana. And when was that? End of April?
No, June 1st.
Bazzana's injury wasn't June 1st.
I feel like it was
MLB.com right now.
I feel like it was May.
No, it wasn't June 1st. June 1st was 13 days ago.
Yeah.
14 days ago.
From Tim Stebbins on a June 1st article, Bazana, the Guardians' #1 prospect, is expected to miss 8 to 10 weeks due to an oblique strain, which he suffered in the second game, middle of May. So you're right.
Yeah, mid-May.
Middle of May.
So it's been a month.
Yeah.
And if he's on 8 weeks, that puts him back middle of July.
Yeah, but he's not. He'll be up in May of next year at this point. I don't see him up before then.
Yeah, when he was healthy, he
was struggling.
He was struggling, man.
So if you get him back in middle to late July, he was only at AA.
Who's our catcher going forward? See, these are the things, Jay, where I'm like, if you've got a piece like Clase, who even with a reduced value, he's going to fetch some assets. Who's our catcher? Who's our right fielder? Who's our second baseman? The Dodgers, the Tigers, the Red Sox, the Yankees, they're not asking those questions. They know.
And even the second base, when I was alarmed when they were like, he might be a right fielder. I said, what do you mean right fielder?
Oh, with Bazana. I know. Well,
how did you miss on that?
Meantime, Caglione's up.
Caglione's up and Kurtz. I think Kurtz homered again over the weekend.
He did homer again over the weekend.
Man, these prospects is like going to Giant Eagle. They cool and you're crisper. You got these fruits and vegetables in here. You can say, I'm going to start eating healthy. And in about 3 days, they start wilting. Then you be like, listen, I should have.
Doritos last 3 weeks in that bag.
Shoot, look, them canned goods over there, they last forever. I could eat Totino's pizza rolls until next year.
I told Mike this before the show. We were walking down the hall. I want to think more on it, but I feel like baseball and the NBA are getting kind of similar in roster building, in that, and Zach pointed this out, Jerry DiPoto a couple years ago when he said the quiet part out loud about we just want to win 54% of our games over a 10-year period.
Yeah.
If you just win 54% of your games and you get into the playoffs, it's about who gets hot at the right time.
That's it.
Who gets hot in October. So just get us in and hope and pray that we're healthy and we get hot. That's how teams are thinking. Just let them get in and get hot at the right time healthy.
You mean mid-teams.
And you see, you're seeing it with the Pacers.
Yeah,
that's the Pacers. They won 50 games this year. If they win the championship, I mentioned this last week, it'll be the lowest regular season win total for a champion in 30 years since the Houston Rockets in 94-95. So it's just they're healthy and they're hot and they're playing really, really well at the exact right time. And I think there's a lot of baseball teams, and I think the Guardians are one of them, that look at it the same way, of just get in and get hot at the right time. Now, I would argue in baseball it's different because you have to be able to hit the ball out of the ballpark or you're not going to win a championship.
In baseball, the three-pointer in the NBA is the home run in baseball. We don't, and so go win an NBA championship without hitting three-pointers.
It's because Thunder made 3 on Friday night and still won, which is
that's
crazy.
an outlier.
I know it's an anomaly.
That's an outlier. Also,
absurd.
Teams win World Series games without hitting home runs.
It's crazy.
That is a way outlier. But if you want to win an NBA championship, you better hit three-pointers. And if you want to win a World Series, you better hit home runs.
Out of the ballpark.
And Jay, it's also partly I'm so disillusioned by baseball because I know you said roster building is similar. To me, there's nothing like Major League Baseball roster building. There's not a move you can't make. Look what happened yesterday. Like, there is the only impediment to gathering assets is how much you're willing to spend.
Yeah.
And that turns it into a spending competition, and we're going to finish 27th out of 30 every time in that. And so at some point over a 7-game series, your deficiency in your lack of roster building and your lack of spending is going to rear its ugly head. Why? Because the other teams don't have a hole. And so if I'm the Guardians, and when I said the season's over, I don't mean that it's the chance of winning the division is over. But also, as I'm projecting, even if they get in as a wild card, I'm not going to project this team to win a playoff series. Because right now, through 70 games, this team can't score runs. And our pitching has been way below where we thought it was going to be. Not just the starting pitching, the bullpen too. And so when you couple all of that together, I'm just looking out saying, okay, make this season worth something.
I don't think there's a boogeyman in the American League. I know the Yankees are really good. I know the Tigers are playing well, but again, the Tigers are going to have some decisions to make at the trade deadline. I'm curious to see who they part with.
What do you think they're going to do?
I think they'll buy. I think they better buy.
They have to. But I mean, you're not going to trade Tarek Skubal, obviously.
No. If I'm Detroit, I call Boston right now and say, "What do you want for Aroldis Chapman?"
Wow.
Because they need a closer.
They do need a closer.
And Boston.
By the way, he's at however old he is.
He's had a great year.
He's still pumping it. It's
having a great year.
incredible. He is
103.
Yeah. And I mean that's an easy layup for me. They have a very good bullpen. Detroit has a very good bullpen, but they've been kind of back and forth on their closer.
But why would Boston do that? They're like, after sweeping the Yankees, they're like 6 out.
They just traded Devers for minor leaguers.
Oh, man.
So if
didn't Devers homer yesterday too? Did he homer for the Red Sox?
I didn't see that. If he
I don't know.
did,
They played
I
the
didn't
Giants
see it.
this weekend.
I think he homered yesterday and then was.
But if
set
they,
happy.
it just feels like Boston may be pivoting to a fire sale and a youth movement. How can you
think that's
trade
playing in Beantown this morning after they sweep the Yankees?
How can you trade your best player in your lineup
I know.
for minor leaguers and then convince people that you're trying to win?
No, I know it's a tough sell, and Boston fans are tough.
It also doesn't help that the owner of the Red Sox also owns Liverpool, and they just spent about $120 million on a player this week, or pounds this weekend for a player in Liverpool. So that is not a good look. But we got our guest here. So final thoughts on the Guardians before we bring in Abdullah Mason to UCSS. Final thoughts, Jay.
Oh, he's got gifts.
Final thoughts, Jay, real quick on the
No
Guardians before we bring the
sticks.
guest in.
You better have some sticks, bro. No sticks at all.
Yeah, there's too many holes.
Yeah.
I'm not ready to give up, but I think they need a major jolt. And maybe, I mean, this isn't a major jolt, but maybe it's recalling Rocchio or recalling DeLauder. They have to do something to inject some life into this lineup.
Maybe John Kenzie.
Not that.
No.
That's what we're talking about. I mean, like, I don't know what happened. I don't know how this lineup got so awful so fast, but it did. Josh Naylor would look good.
Yeah.
But, you know, he wasn't a prospect because they weren't going to sign him long term.
I mean, again, we've talked about this at length. In a vacuum, I totally understand why they made the Naylor trade. I totally understand why they made the Jimenez trade.
Yep.
It makes perfect sense. But, big picture, they went to the ALCS and they traded their platinum glove and one of the best hitters in their lineup, and I don't know if they've adequately replaced. I mean, Santana has been an adequate replacement for Naylor.
Yeah.
But I said last week I would trade him.
Yeah, I don't think he's going to finish the season in Cleveland, and I think we're going to probably see some. I think they're going to, if they keep playing like this, by the end of July, they're fire sailing people. They're
I hope for Shane's sake and the organization's sake, I hope that he gets to pitch in meaningful games for this team when he returns.
God, I do too.
I hope.
I do too.
But he'll be.
And one last thing, shame on the owner. Shame on ownership. I'm sorry, it's got to be said.
Yeah.
You know, we're talking about the players not performing and the front office is missed on their minor league system. The owner writes the checks. The amount of money that this team spends based on how this city loves its baseball is an embarrassment, and shame on the owners. You're not giving us a chance with that payroll.
And with that, we got a big-time guest in the studio, one with faster hands than all of us combined. And we're going to bring out Abdullah Mason here momentarily after a quick word from Buckeye State Credit Union. If you haven't heard of them yet, meet your new favorite financial partner. Buckeye State Credit Union is a local institution offering everything from checking accounts to home equity lines of credit and auto loans with some of the lowest rates in Northeast Ohio. Their Cleveland branch is in Shaker Heights, which is one of the 5 locations they have across the state, making it easy to find one near you. Can't get to a branch? No problem. They make banking simple with digital banking. What sets them apart? Well, they make banking personal and convenient. At Buckeye, their focus is you. Their core values: connect, simplify, and adapt. Guide everything they do, bringing people together, cutting through the clutter, and are innovative. To learn more, visit buckeyecu.org. Buckeye State Credit Union, your money simplified. And with that, you would never know by looking at it, but Abdullah Mason was in a boxing match last week. Looks unscathed as he earned another win. He is now 19-0 in his professional boxing careers. From Cleveland, and Abdullah, we are thrilled to have you here on the Ultimate Cleveland Sports.
Let's take that wide shot so we can see the hardware he has with him.
You got enough room over there?
Yeah, not one, but 2 belts.
You need me to hold one of those for you?
Hey, man, y'all should have told me to bring my belt,
I don't mind.
Wow.
It'd be the only time. Wow, it's heavy. Be the only time in my life I get to hold one of these ever.
Other than G's People's Champ belt.
That is heavy,
Yeah, yeah,
dude.
I'm gonna come back in hopefully soon with the World Championship one.
Attaboy.
Trade
That's your next one, right?
Oh, this heavy,
Yes,
heavy bags. This heavy bags.
Yeah, that's legit.
Yeah, man, I gotta retool mine.
You know, if that's a big if. like,
care.
this was my grandma had wheels, she'd be a bike.
Handle it with care.
If I was ever talented enough to win this, I would like go grocery shopping with it. I would, when I'm working out on the streets doing my runs, I would have this on.
Be a Texas belt buckle.
I would have a truck following me, playing the Rocky theme wherever I went. That's incredible.
Now, you know what's your last fight looked like Rocky a little bit. The last fight, it was back and forth. You were swinging. He
a few fights ago. Well, which one?
That was that your 2 fight? Was that? I'm gonna give you straight. That was that 2 fights.
The most recent fight was not
It was
really
like
a
3
fight.
fights ago.
Oh,
he didn't get hit in his last fight.
Abdullah
the last
dominated the
joint.
most recent one.
I see you don't learn from your mistakes. You don't even let them touch you no more. But man, like I was like, oh snaps, this is. But going back to that fight, what did you learn from that and moving forward to like now? It's like, how'd you handle that?
Moving forward, it was just making sure I'm dialed in my corner. Listening to the team. Whenever I fight, I get in there. I'm excited. I'm ready to let my hands go. I see a lot of openings quickly. And I shoot from there. But that just told me, just slow it down and listen to my corner. That's all that was. And once we did that, everything else started coming into play even better than it already has been.
For our non-fight fans out there that know the name and they know that you're climbing the ranks and that you're really one to watch, tell us exactly where you are in your career and what's coming next. Because really what's coming next for you that's the precipice. Then you got to hold on to it. But like the mountain, you can see the top of the mountain from where you are now.
Yeah, I'm very excited. Where I am in my career is where we have been building up to since we started boxing. So my next fight should be for a world championship fight. Versus a guy from the UK. So I started this year as, like boxing's biggest prospect. And now, I'll get to contend for a world championship. And hopefully by the end of the year, I'll be Cleveland's, world champion.
Wow.
Now you got bumped to the main event the other day because the other fighters didn't make weight. Did that change anything? Like that's when it's a last minute change like that for does it change your preparation at all, or does it change how you approach it?
It's all mental, it depends on certain things, but the first thing is when you mentally dialed in, when you locked in and you know what you come in here to do and you're prepared for the job, then it doesn't affect you like it could, that's the main thing, just making sure you're locked in. And with my team around me, my father, my brothers, we know it's the same job. Wherever on the card we're here to do the same thing. Same thing, same opponent. So
when did you find out you're getting bumped to the main event? Was the night before?
It was the night before.
Wow.
Yeah.
What was your response? What was your reaction when you first heard?
I was excited because it's my first time. For it being my first time, I'm like, oh man, I'm expecting my first time to be in my hometown, but the day before, it's still a big card, and me knowing that the last time I was at Norfolk, it was a huge turnout. The crowd loved it. They was excited. The crowd was amazing. And this time out, everybody couldn't wait to see me again. So for me to get bumped up to that card, it made Norfolk like a, kind of important place in my career, I would say. For that to be the first place that I had my main event, So when I come back here to Cleveland, I want to see a lot of the Norfolk, the folks from Norfolk come through.
Well, you mentioned here in Cleveland, your cachet is growing with each win.
Yeah.
And I'm not sure if your next fight for a world championship will be in Cleveland, but if you win that fight, now you have the cachet.
Yeah.
Now you can tell the fight makers and the promoters, oh no, I want this one at Rocket Mortgage.
Yeah.
Or whatever the hell they call it these days. I would imagine we're not too far away from seeing you fight here in Cleveland in a really big venue. Am I wrong?
Oh yeah, not at all. Everything is happening at its proper time. So, we've just been building up and staying ready for whatever, comes our way. Top Rank has been talking about bringing me here in Cleveland for a minute now. So there was no set date, but, before plans changed on this last fight, there was a possibility that I could come here next. But, with me contending for the World Championship, there are a few different places or, a few different things that could be worked out for that to happen.
Yeah.
So right now we just, in a wait time, staying ready for whatever the news is. And as soon as they make that call.
Will you likely have to go to London to fight this guy from UK or not?
That's one of the possibilities. We're not sure yet. So like I said, once they give us all the information on, how everything's going, everything's worked out, we're just going to be prepared. We're going to get the job done, but I can't wait to come back here for sure.
Is it official that that's your next fight? Is that official yet?
It's official.
Okay.
It's official.
Oh, it is?
Oh,
well, it's ordered by the WBO. So with
he has to fight you.
He has to fight me.
Yeah.
Yeah. So with the belt the World Championship, WBO Championship being vacant, the ranked #1 fighter, which is Sam Noakes from the UK, fights the ranked #2 fighter, which is me, from Cleveland, Ohio. So,
what's his record?
17-0 with 15 KOs.
How old?
26, 7, something
Wow.
like that.
Now the guy you fought the other night was a little bit older, wasn't he?
He was a little older.
And you basically blinded him. He couldn't see out of his right eye and they had to stop the fight.
Yeah.
It's one way to win.
Elder abuse.
How does that
Elder abuse.
You treat your elders like that, son.
Oh, man.
how does that affect you? Like, you go back and think, you're like, all right, if you are going to the UK and you're going to fight him, kind of in his backyard, how will your training regimen be different? Will you stay here mostly and then transition over there a little later, or are you just gonna go and be in the UK and soak it up and train over there for the most part?
However it works, I definitely gotta be out there a little earlier than just so I could be able to get used to the atmosphere. A lot of places is different. Like when you go to Vegas, the altitude is a little different than it is here. So it's not too big, anywhere in the States. But going overseas, I definitely have to probably spend a few more days, or I don't know yet, but definitely have to be prepared for it.
They say for every hour you move in the time zone, it takes a day. So you're going back five time zones.
Yeah.
But for your body to regulate, it might take 5, 6 days,
right.
whatever that is. It's different for everybody. What do you know about the style of fight that this might be? Like what kind of fighter is he? How do you guys stack up tail of tape wise?
The type of fighter that he is, he's a strong fighter. He likes to get in there, and when he sees something, he uses his strength. He lets go with his strength, and he likes to walk you down a little bit. But
are you rangier?
I'm rangier. Yeah. I'm a little longer. I think I'm a tad taller as well.
Good.
So I feel like it's gonna be a good fight. With him being as strong as he is, he might be very durable as well. So it's just got to be it's got to have the right game plan and execute it correctly so I could bring that championship back to Cleveland.
Right.
When you're in the ring, I'm curious, going back to your last fight, what's your approach going into the fight? And then when you see that you've got him cut, when does it change to, I want to keep hitting that spot?
The approach is all in the training. You kind of see the things that he does or his habits, and you know what you do, and you work on certain stuff based off the training. So when you first get in there, you just kind of getting used to the tempo, the opponent, and once you see certain things, you capitalize off that. Like what cut his eye was a jab, but in the corner they were telling me shoot that jab. So eventually the jab is what got to him, and I could see him. I could see it on his facial expressions that it was bothering him every time I shot him and got him with a clean jab. And ultimately that's what led to him getting out of there. But it just all depends on the opponent, all depends on the fight. Like I fought one time in July last year, and he came out from the gate, he was on me, so I had to let my hands go a little earlier, and that fight ended in the 3rd round because he walked into some stuff.
Abdul, I got 2 questions for you real quick. The first one more serious than the second one, but the first one, as someone who's a professional boxer, someone who trains, spars, has been in 19 professional fights now, do you remember the first time that you got hit in the face in like a hard manner, and you're like, oh, you know what? I could eat that. Like that wasn't that bad. Do you remember the first time in your career where you ate one of those punches and it just wasn't as bad as you thought it was going to be?
You mean since I turned pro?
It could be before. I'm just scared. Maybe your brothers. I know that you guys all box and you come from an athletic family, so.
Yeah, I would say when I turned pro, it was one of my fights. I think it was my 5th fight, and it was a punch. It kind of like grazed me, but I could tell that if I didn't see it coming, or if I got hit with that clean, then I wouldn't have liked that at all.
How you like that? Yeah, not at all.
Not at all.
It's one of those things you don't know till you actually get hit if you can eat a punch or not.
Well, Mike Tyson said everyone has a plan until they get hit in the face.
No,
exactly.
For sure.
Yeah,
for sure.
and it does sort of, you need like a standing 8 count internally, like a control-alt-delete.
Yeah.
Because that stuff on TV, I've always said, even the thud, you can hear it. But I remember the first time I sat ringside for a fight in Vegas.
Yeah.
I couldn't even really comprehend what was going on, because from the first 30 seconds I kept saying, I can't believe either of these guys are still standing. And they did that for 12 rounds. Just haymaker after haymaker. And it was so much more violent when you were sitting there than TV even comes close. It's like a NASCAR race. They look fast on TV. When you're there in person, it's totally different. And I imagine for you, when you stepped up into the professional ranks, you had to be like, oh, okay, we're not playing anymore. These guys are playing for keeps.
For sure. You definitely can't play in the professional ranks. And I feel like that's the reason why my fights go how they do, you know, how I get them out of there a certain way, or they're exciting to people, because I know I can't play around in there. So when I get in there, I like to get the job done. Yeah, but it's
get in, get out, get paid.
Yeah, right, for sure. and get out healthy.
Sure.
But it's a certain preparation that goes into it that I feel like that makes the physical part not so, you know, it's not so effective on you when you're in there or you're fighting. You can handle it because it's like when you're running some miles. You know, the first 2-3 days back in the gym, man, you can't really take it. But those times where you preparing, you know, time and time again, you run 3 miles and you good, you still feel it, but you know, you just going. So it's kind of the same.
Build up to it.
Mike's got a silly one to ask you, but actually,
it's not silly, but this part of boxing fighting fascinates me.
Well, hang on, because I have a follow up to what you asked him.
You go.
This could be totally dumb. Every time we see you, you look like you just got out of bed. Have you ever been cut in a fight?
I have never been cut.
That's incredible.
Yeah. It is
this man's
incredible.
fought 19 times and he's never been cut.
At the highest
I cut myself shaving.
You gotta be quick.
How is that possible that you've never been cut?
Well, he sees him coming.
I don't want to jinx him now, but like that's incredible.
Your duck game is ridiculous.
Yeah.
Like you just see him coming as he's loading, and it's you know, you can't get cut if you can't get hit.
Right. I mean, that's the job for sure. You know, at least they're not in there with a razor that will hit like him.
All right, Mike, what do you have? What's your crazy one?
It's not even that crazy, but like, I grew up as a big UFC fan. My dad had some connections to the UFC.
Yeah.
They all those guys had like these individual pre-fight superstitions. Some of them would eat the same meal every time. They'd nap at the same meal every time. Some guys didn't give a crap. They'd change it up, whatever they were.
Right.
Abdul, do you have any pre-fight superstitions, and do you have like a go-to pre-fight meal before stepping into a ring ready to go to war against another man?
Not really. No, I don't have anything, you know, specific in that sense. Whereas that's one thing I don't want to hold myself to something, because if that doesn't work out, then you'll mentally be like, oh shoot, this didn't happen like it was supposed to, so the fight might be a little different. So you don't want that to happen. You got to be able to perform under any circumstance. So however, you know, it goes before the fight, however smooth or rocky it is, you still got to be able to get in there and be prepared to get the job done. So that's what we want to do every time out.
I got one. This is much better. Walk me through your meal prep, your meal. What do you eat? Like, say for today, from sun up to sundown. Mm-hmm. Like, what do you like? What
you have a calorie count?
You wake up in the morning, you jog, do whatever. What do you eat?
It depends. You know, I mean, today I don't know. I might get a burger or something today, but
you like eating burgers?
Oh yeah, for sure.
Look at him, bro.
I'm not.
When you were 19, you could eat whatever you wanted.
Bro,
He's not in camp yet, G. He's still waiting on a date for
camp.
And I bet you couldn't gain weight if you tried, could you?
I mean, if I tried to, I probably could. Yeah, but you know.
But do you ever have to cut weight?
Yeah, I'm always training. I'm always in camp, so
yeah.
So I'm always like close to my fight weight. You know, pretty much walk into it. But that's the thing, you know. Just staying disciplined. You know, it varies, but we try to make sure we cut certain foods out. You know, as you know, like fried foods,
cheesecake,
and stuff like that, and
probably not on the list.
Not as much, you know.
Like so you still do. So you can eat cheesecakes, or you don't.
Well, in training camp, you can't really do too much of anything. I could probably buy something. You know? Give me one bite. Like that's right,
just
for
nah.
Sure.
That takes discipline.
But even if I could, sometimes I say that, yeah, give me a bite or two, because you know that's not something I want to worry about. You know, when I'm coming into a fight, my main thing is, you know, the training, the preparation, and the performance. You know, I don't want to be in the back of my head like, dang, I ate too many cheesecakes before.
Right.
Earl's got one for you. Go ahead, Earl.
Abdullah, so I thought it was an eventful weekend in Norfolk, Virginia. You know, I watched the interview prior to the fight when Keyshawn Davis kind of like ran off at the mouth, and I was watching your body language. You know, you're not much of a talker, you're more of a fighter. Talk about what that moment was like for you, because I don't think I had ever seen that kind of interaction with another boxer and yourself. pre-fight? And did it just seem like how everything kind of took place that weekend? Did it feel like a changing of the guard, so to speak?
It was definitely like a moment that was a little unexpected for me, but I was prepared for it. But my thing is that's not really my personality. Like I don't really get into that, all that, you know, that type of trash talk or right before. I'm focused on Nakatila, so, you know, it threw me off guard a little bit. But I was, you know, definitely prepared to get the job done and move on to the next. So if that was the next step, I was ready to do that too.
Who came up with the marketing phrase? Because I love it. Appetite for smoke.
We came up with this like a few years ago in the gym after one of my fights. I was in the gym, and I was like, you know, I'm starting to like this. I'm starting to.
You want that smoke?
Yeah, for sure. It was right after my fight, and we was still in the gym, you know, working a few days after, you know. And I was like, I'm starting to like this, getting an appetite for this. And the same day, we was looking for a caption for one of my pictures, and my father was like, just use what you said in the gym. I'm starting to gain an appetite for smoke.
Wow.
And he said that, and, you know, it stuck ever since.
I like it.
Yeah.
I like it a lot.
Fire.
That belt there kind of matches your color scheme, too.
Right.
I see that.
Yeah.
Very nice.
For
So
sure.
maybe within a year, maybe 2 for sure, we're going to have a big date here in Cleveland with one of your fights if everything goes as planned.
Hopefully real soon. Hopefully real soon. So we don't know when that day is going to be, but hopefully within the next few fights, 1, 2, you know, possibly 3. But I'm hoping, you know, it comes sooner because, you know, Cleveland has a huge demand for it. You know,
Big fight fans.
Yeah. Anytime we outside running, even, you know, you got a lot of people that say, you know, Mason Brothers. You know, Mason Brothers here. They're like, yeah, keep going.
Yeah.
You got a lot of honks and stuff like that. And even when we're not wearing any like merch or anything that tells us who we are, or tells them who we are. So, you know, we just can't wait to bring it back. Yeah, for sure.
Hey, congratulations, man.
Thank you.
Keep angling to the top.
Absolutely.
And
Thank you.
I know Cleveland's already proud of you, but
Yeah.
we deserve it. We deserve a world champion. Damn it.
Right.
And you're the
Right,
man for the
sure.
job.
For sure.
Thanks,
Thank
brother.
you.
Bring the
Continued
belt home.
success.
Absolutely.
And come back and see us too.
Thank
After
you.
your next fight, you got to come back.
We'll bring up another chair for your third belt.
Yeah.
Pull up another
I know
chair.
that's
for sure.
impressive stuff.
For
Very
sure.
impressive. Keep us posted. Come back before fight, after fight, whenever, man.
Okay,
Your family here.
absolutely,
So,
yeah.
thanks, brother.
Thanks,
All right,
y'all. And I
continued
want
success
everybody
to
to grab your appetite for smoke. So on MasonBrothersBoxing.shop. So
Where is it again? Say again. Where you get them?
MasonBrothersBoxing.shop. Grab your appetite for smoke, and follow at Abdullah Mason on social media.
Very nice.
There you go.
We'll make sure all that information is in the description of this YouTube video. Abdullah, we appreciate you coming in.
you.
Best of luck. That 19-0 record, soon to be 20-0, and a world championship on your resume as well. We're going to get Abdullah out of here. Get to our final topic of today's show after a quick word from Game Time. There's nothing like the NBA playoffs. The intensity, the buzzer beaters, the fans losing their minds. It's the kind of atmosphere you have to experience live, and this year's matchups are already delivering. If you want in, Game Time makes it fast and easy to get seats, even for the biggest games. Prices on the app actually drop the closer you get to tip-off with killer last-minute deals, panoramic seat views, and no surprise fees. Game Time is a total game changer. I've used the app, and zone deals we're offering 10% off exclusives for FIFA World Cup matchups in the future. I love that I can see the exact view from my seat before I buy it. There's no surprises. The app makes it so simple. 2 taps and you're done. You can take the guesswork out of buying tickets with Game Time. Download the Game Time app, create an account, and use promo code LOCKEDONNFL for $20 off your first purchase. Once again, create an account, redeem code LOCKEDONNFL for $20 off. Download the Game Time app today. Last-minute tickets, lowest prices guaranteed. If you're not following us on social media, what are you guys waiting for? We have a TikTok account. We have a Twitter account. We have an Instagram account. You can find those handles on the screen right there at Alt Sports and at Ultimate Cleveland Sports Show. Bull and Zach did an Ultimate Guardian show this morning. If you want any more Guardians talk, you can head over to our YouTube page and find all that extra Guardians content. And Jason and myself will be recording an Ultimate Cavs show that will air at 11 a.m. on Thursday. We don't have a show, no full UCSS on Thursday due to Tegna being off for Juneteenth, so we are going to tape an Ultimate Cav show and air that at 11 a.m. It'll be an extended Ultimate Cav show, so you get some brand new live content on a day where we wouldn't typically have UCSS content due to the holiday. So make sure you guys tune in for all that coming up later this week. All right, guys, it is time to get to our final topic of the day. And then if you want to get 264 ready, Juan Thornhill, former friend of the program, former Cleveland Brown, did his first media session with the Pittsburgh Steelers. And in that 264, Ant, in that session, he had mentioned his anticipation for playing Cleveland. He was asked about the Steelers' upcoming schedule, and Thornhill said, quote, "I ain't got no issues with Cleveland. I'm not worried about them, but they definitely got to see me 2 times a year. I'm excited about the opportunity for sure."
Is he talking about when he was here? They got to see him 2 times a year?
That was the joke Earl made upstairs.
Yeah, oh, is it?
It literally was the exact joke Earl made upstairs.
That's really funny.
My
I didn't know
question
that.
is, does Juan Thornhill reach the caliber of player that any team would be worried about seeing 2 times a year?
No, not if he was the player he was when he was here. Like, why would we be worried about that?
I don't want to. He had a lot of injuries, and that sucks for him.
No, it does.
And calf injuries suck because they linger, and it's a shame that it didn't work out because I think he could have been a good player. But there's a couple things that happened, like the jogging on the 1 touchdown run. He'll never live that down for his time in Cleveland. I have no ill will toward Juan. I've talked to him multiple times. I hope he can stay healthy.
Good guy by all accounts.
Yeah, if he could stay healthy, I think he could be a productive NFL player. He just couldn't stay healthy when he was here. But no, he's not rising to the level, I think, of anything that anybody's worried about.
I think of when Joe Hayden left. I knew Joe Hayden had something left in the tank, and I hated the fact that we had to see him twice a year. Because he was a guy that could change the game with his defensive plays. I just don't see that Juan Thornhill is going to – we're all going to be leaving the stadium after they play the Steelers going, man, if it wasn't for Juan Thornhill, we had this thing.
Yeah.
No, I don't think so.
Man, these dudes, man, people be coming here. They be coming here. The thing that got me was I wasn't so mad about the injury joints. You know, the loafing on the field, okay, you know. All right, would you want to see him be running harder for that? Sure you would. The thing that got me was at the end of the season, he watching the Kansas City Chiefs playing, and he talking about I should be playing. What are you talking about, bro? You sound wild. You sound crazy for that, bro. Like, you know, and he a veteran. You know how this works. You know, the Kansas City Chiefs did not offer you a contract. The Kansas City Chiefs are a collection of other people. You play for the Browns. And let me add, you didn't play well for the Browns. So, like, stop trying to get on social media talking about, like, you was somehow snubbed in the way that you were supposed to be. Like, come on, man. You lucky you're with the Pittsburgh Steelers. You got another opportunity. You should have been like, hey, man, listen. Hey, I'm just happy to be in Cleveland. Or, excuse me, I'm happy to be in Pittsburgh. AFC North, I'm used to it. It's a tough division. Just looking forward to getting the season started. I'm not talking about seeing you twice no year. I'm glad because all them times you be back there having miscommunications, I hope you have one. Touchdown, Browns! And Juan Thornhill is looking around like he didn't know if it was cover 3 or cover 2.
We've seen that
happened
before.
a time or two.
We've seen that before.
All that being said, like the question that's on the screen right there, that wasn't a shot. He's not taking a shot at the Browns. You know, he stated a fact. I get to see them twice a year, or they got to see me twice a year. I don't know how he actually phrased it. Did he say they've got to see me twice a year?
They got to see me twice a year. And if you want to take 264 full again, this is the exact quote.
Yeah, I mean, I've got no problem whatsoever with anything in there. He's excited about the opportunity.
It is a fact.
Again, I think he's talking about. I think he's talking about the past tense. They definitely got to see me 2 times a year.
Well, we're going to get to see him 2 more times. There's nothing egregious in that. You know, when a guy leaves a city, there's 2 ways he can go. Thank you for the time, Nick Chubb, very classy. Or you can be the spurned, bitter lover. And I think that's what he was when he came to Cleveland from Kansas City. see his tweets before the Super Bowl. Man, I should be playing in the Super Bowl. Man, they didn't want you. Yeah. It's not like,
he wasn't wronged anywhere. He wasn't wronged
no, he wasn't.
here. He wasn't wronged
in
Kansas City.
And so, he didn't throw down the gauntlet and say, you wait until I play Cleveland. I'm going to pick them 8 times. No, he didn't do anything. He just said he's excited about the opportunity. I wish him well. Not against Cleveland, but I wish him well. I hope the man finds what he had in Kansas City. He was a very good player in Kansas City.
And might I add, we got to clean up our own garbage. If he was taking shots at Cleveland, I wouldn't even be that mad. You won 3 games.
Yeah.
When you win 3 games, you own all 3 of those games that you lost 14 times. Now, all of them couldn't have been because you lost by 1 point or somebody was injured. You got beat 14 times legally. So
go fix it.
I'm not going to be sitting here looking for notes. I'm going to put the Browns cape on because I'm a fan. No one talks about. No, we should have been talked about. We were 3-14, and if you do not want to be 3-14, and you don't want people to talk about you and rank you last and laugh at your jerseys and all that good stuff, how's about winning the division for the first time since 1989?
And by the way, he's probably looking at the roster of Browns quarterbacks, and he's probably excited to play this team
forward to the opportunity.
2 times a year. I've been looking forward to playing Kenny Pickett and Joe Flacco, too.
Who got the better of the exchange? And I know it wasn't a direct trade, but Pittsburgh now has Juan Thornhill, and we have Kenny Pickett.
I still don't get to Kenny Pickett. I still don't. I've been trying to, because, listen, you got to think about it. I'll be asking people, when Kenny Pickett was playing for the Steelers, we were laughing.
I know we were.
We were like, ha, bring that guy on.
Yeah.
No, listen, Duck Hodges, he can play against
now he's ours.
Mason Rudolph will smoke us. Listen, Tommy Maddox, we got problems with him and Cordell Stewart. But Kenny Pickett,
Duck Hodges
was nice. But bring us Kenny Pickett. He lost to DTR. We had 100 yards passing. You lost to us. And now we have him.
Not only do we have him,
but
a lot of smart football people tell me that we really like him.
So this is funny.
We really like him.
And I'm sitting there like, this is wild.
So Saturday night we're at Dustin's wedding, right?
Yeah.
And Zach Jackson's there. And Zach comes up. We're standing by the bar, and Zach goes, Jason, Kenny Pickett's not starting for this football team. I said, listen, I can only go by what I know. So even and Zach and I normally see everything eye to eye, but that was really funny. Zach's like, Jason, Kenny Pickett's not starting for this football team.
Listen, everybody, I keep hearing these people that are regular with our knockdown guy on Friday.
Spencer German.
I believe he's number 1 on the depth chart right now.
I can't.
Again, it's early. It's June.
Jay,
I was saying that in April and May, though.
To me, I don't see any world where there is any upside, goodness. I don't know what you're. Why would you start Kenny Pickett?
You can. So Jason, because I asked him this last week, and Jason convinced me on one thing. Ball security. What does Kevin Stefanski love only slightly less than his children and his family? A quarterback that doesn't throw it to the wrong team.
But why would I look at his stats? Well, I don't see that.
Here's the thing. 15 touchdowns, 10 interceptions. The offensive coordinator that he was playing under in Pittsburgh was so bad, if they would have held a vote for the least liked guy in the history of Pittsburgh, he might have won. This guy, they want in Canada.
Is it worse than Dorsey?
Oh, yeah.
Well,
yeah,
I think so. They hated him.
Definitively, yes.
He ruled the radio waves for 2 years. 90% of the topics in Pittsburgh were, when are we going to fire Canada?
I killed Dorsey when they hired him. I killed him all year. Canada's worse than Matt Dorsey.
And so here's what, and this is what I'm kind of holding on to, too, because Jason always has a way of coming at things logically. And when I heard that, 15 touchdowns, that's an indictment. But only 10 picks, that's an endorsement.
I think they look at it as, I think a lot of things went against him in Pittsburgh, a lot of things that are known, maybe some things that aren't. I'm going to try, I may lay out some of the stuff over the summer.
Wait, now you're intriguing me.
Hold on. Now there are some things. Listen, we get on what's the name all the time. Who's the receiver? The receiver that we just got from the Ravens.
Deontay
Johnson. Yeah. Well, there was reports in Pittsburgh that Kenny Pickett refused to go in and be in a backup in the game as well.
I don't remember that.
He came back from injury at the end of the season. They said, we're going to continue to go with Mason Rudolph.
Yeah.
He said, okay, well, I'm not going to be a backup for that. And he sat out.
I need to
remember that.
I don't want to say anything more until I get more information. I just think there's a lot of stuff that went down in Pittsburgh.
Damn, you can't do that to us.
Well, I'm just saying. But I think that Flacco can't move and he throws interceptions.
Yeah.
Kenny can move around the pocket. He's a little bit more athletic, and he doesn't throw pick. And I'm not trying to sit here and tell you Kenny Pickett is going to start 17 games and take the Browns. I'm not saying that.
Yeah.
I'm saying it's June 16th, and I think he's number 1 on the depth chart. That's all I'm saying. That's it.
Yeah.
That's it.
Hey, Jimmy Haslam, I give you permission. I give you permission to dip back in your 2014 bag. Find that same text message that you sent to the sideline and said, put Johnny Football in the game. Kenny Pickett starting 6 games for you is a waste of your 6 games.
You know what else gives me pause about
I don't
Kenny
think it'll
Pickett?
be 6.
Hey, Jay, real quick on
Yeah.
that. Gee, I found the instance you're referring to. I don't remember this happening, so I'm reading the ESPN article.
I don't remember that
Pickett said he talked on Thursday that week. Earlier in the week, I guess it came out that he didn't want to be the backup. This is the quote from Pickett about that. And once again, I don't remember this. I'm only reading the tweet.
Yeah, I don't remember it at
I'm only
all.
reading the text from the ESPN article. Quote, I saw reports out there that I feel like we're attacking my character and how I am as a person. There was a lot of talk about me being the backup quarterback this week against the Seahawks in terms of being the 2. If I was healthy enough to play, if the trainers and coaches felt like I looked good enough to play, I was going to start and play. I suffered the high ankle sprain. I had not been physically cleared to play in that game.
Oh, okay. So that clears that up.
There was a lot of stuff that happened in Pittsburgh that I think is worth exploring.
Yeah.
That's all.
The other thing that gives me pause,
It'd be a good article, by the way, Jason, to do that deep dive.
Sam Darnold, when Sam Darnold went to Minnesota, it was a footnote.
Yeah.
It was a Kenny Pickett move. What are you doing here?
Yeah.
And look what happened.
And I'm not even going to go that far. I'm not even saying Pickett's going to be the next.
No,
starter.
I'm not going to predict that either because that's like lightning in a bottle. Like you're going to capture that maybe once, but Minnesota clearly saw something in Sam Darnold that the Jets didn't see and Carolina didn't see, and it just boom, it metastasized on the field, and next thing you know, he's signing a huge offseason free agent contract.
And frankly, Minnesota might have got a little lucky with that because you just don't know in these
because he regressed in the playoffs, right?
And frankly, like the Browns have some work to do with Kenny. They got to rebuild some confidence here. I think Pittsburgh sort of destroyed him a little bit, and I don't know that year in Philly really did anything to rebuild. He was a backup.
Watched.
Yeah, he
watched.
watched. So I think that there's some cleaning up that has to be done from a confidence level, mentally, all that. But again,
if it happens, that's great.
It's just biding time until the younger guys are ready. Because I've said it, I'll keep saying it. I believe Shedeur Sanders should play more games than any other quarterback on this roster this year because he's the only guy that I look at and say, they might have something here because I'm telling you right now, they left night 1 of the draft saying we are taking our quarterback next year. So it's on Shedeur or Dylan or Kenny, probably not Joe,
to change their mind.
To change their mind on.
But you got to find out. You've got to find out.
Yeah.
I think you have to find out with Dylan Gabriel too.
Absolutely.
And we're not going to listen. If we're not going to be playing no 10, 12 games with the 40+ crew, and then get to the end of the season and be like, well, he played two good games. It was 2 games that no.
If Joe Flacco plays 10+ games, they're drafting a quarterback next year in the first round.
Yeah.
Period.
You got all these doggone games, right?
Because not just because he didn't get on the field, but why he didn't.
Get on the field? Why they chose to play Joe?
If he couldn't beat out a 40-year-old Joe Flacco who can't move,
they're taking a quarterback.
They're taking a quarterback next year.
You've used this expression before. I think it's the perfect way to explain the Browns quarterback situation. If you got to squint, you know your answer.
You got to look.
If you got to squint at any of these guys looking ahead,
if you got to talk yourself into it,
yeah.
And if you and this is why, if you want to play them, they're going to have a big problem if this happens. If you're going to say the whole year it's a competition, and then you plan on playing the veteran guys, that's fine. But you better be playing the rookies during these preseason games then.
Every snap.
I don't care. If you're going to do that, don't lie and say it's going to be a competition, because here's what happens. Coaches sometimes don't do themselves any justice. If you don't give him reps, right, and you don't give the young guys reps, and you trot Pickett out here, how much cachet do you think Kenny Pickett has with anybody in this locker room?
None.
And anybody in the city?
None.
The second he throws a check down or interception, there's going to be loud and proud. Boo, boo, boo. Either give me Flacco, because we know him, or one of these young guys. So, look, if you don't play him at all and no one really gets to see him, Jay, like, oh, we're going to play him. Yeah, they play a little bit in the inter-squad scrimmages. No, you have to play them where your fan base sees them. Because if you don't, they're going to make it up in their mind. At least give people an opportunity to see with their own eyes, because if not, they're going to make up their own narrative and say, this is why this happened, and this person didn't play or that person didn't play.
I wouldn't even go so far, guys, as to say that is the #1 objective and priority of 2025.
100%. It's fine. Quarterback.
It's not winning games. It's find out whether or not your quarterback of the future is currently on the roster. Because if it's not, you wash, rinse, and repeat next year.
I've said that before, and that's the only thing that matters.
Yeah.
It's the only thing that matters this year. You're not winning the Super Bowl. You're more than likely not going to the playoffs. If you want any sort of production to come out of the season, is there a quarterback on this roster moving forward that you think you can win with? And if there's not, you got to go find one in the draft.
But you have to find out. You know, we keep saying, well, we're going to find out. We're going to see. We got to see. Put them out there and let us see.
And in terms of the fans booing they're used to the fans booing the quarterback around here. He got booed all last year.
That's part of the job,
right?
When they place the ad in the magazine where they're looking for a quarterback, somewhere in the write-up it says must have extremely thick skin and thin ears, small ears where you can't hear.
We got super chats to wrap up today's show. First, a shout out to Sly, who gifted 20 memberships. We appreciate you, Sly.
Nice.
Very generous of you this morning. Reggie the Bug Glover says, I will say it until the day I die. If you throw the rookies in too soon, you doom them to repeat the past Browns quarterback history. Please
a lot of people
be
think that.
patient with them.
A lot of people think that.
You can't listen. Let's start this. Let's stop this. Here's what you want to see out of a franchise quarterback. Do you got it or not? Yeah. Sometimes,
but do you think that there is a situation where you do play a guy too soon?
It could be. Of course there is. Okay. But it's sometimes you in a catch-22, and a rookie could be in a catch-22. Do you want more reps or less reps? Because the longer you wait, the less window you have to prove what you can do.
That also intimates that there's no value to watching.
But here's the thing: everything in that chat that he said is 100% true.
Yes. Two things can be true at once.
The Browns, #1, don't have the luxury of time. You have 1 year because they are going to take a quarterback at the top of the draft next year under these current circumstances. So that leaves you 1 year. And second, if you don't take a quarterback in the 3rd and 5th round if you think he's the quarterback of the future. If you think he's the quarterback of the future, you take him in the 1st round. Well, the fact that they didn't tells you that they don't think these guys are, and it's on them to prove them wrong.
Right.
And they will have ample opportunities this year to do that.
That's the point. If you, as a coach, it's your job to turn over every stone. And you can't just say, I think he's not good and don't play him on the field. You have to at least give a guy an opportunity to prove what it is.
You know there is an unwritten future headline that looks like this. Browns wreck Sanders by throwing him to wolves too soon.
Hey.
Like, that's happened. We've done it. Well, and we're familiar with that headline. But so that also is a possibility.
The next and last super chat plays along those lines. So let me read it, then we can finish this discussion. But Chantel Penton says, I have a question for you guys. How does Denzel Ward know how good Shedeur plays unless Shedeur played against the ones
I wondered that too.
Isn't there?
Well, he's watching.
Because
he didn't go against Shedeur Sanders, but when Shedeur Sanders was on the field, he was not.
There's a lot of time for these guys to stand around.
Yeah.
Especially guys like the ones aren't taking every rep. There's a lot of times where the ones are standing on the side.
Yeah, he got to watch.
Is there a world, Kevin Stefanski, we believe him sometimes, but sometimes we don't want to. He says every single day, do not read too much into the reps that are being given out with the first team. He says it every day. Yep. Now, I don't know if we're at every practice. Could Shedeur be receiving first team reps at practice when the doors are closed? Sure. I don't know that.
I tend to think he's not.
Well, they've said he's not. They said that he hasn't. Now, why are they truthful? I don't think they have any reason to lie about that. But to what I said earlier in the show, there's a method to their madness. If he's not seeing time against the ones, and he's not, there is a reason for that.
Right.
Kevin hasn't shared that reason, but there is a definitive reason why they went out of their way to make sure all of the quarterbacks but Shedeur got reps against the one.
So when they put him in, he has the runway is clear.
We'll see. We'll find out. We're going
to find out. We're going to see.
That's the beauty
We'll be
of football,
up
man.
in overtime in about.
You can't hide. You cannot hide on this football field.